I want to go to bed now.
I want to go take a shower.
It was that good. Hey?
One mental trauma.
I want to go smoke a cigarette and take a shower at the same time.
One out.
Yeah, at the same time.
Counterproductive.
Well, just as long as you don't do the wrong one first, you're fine. Because you take a shit after you shower, you might as well start your whole fucking day over.
Just shit in the shower.
Oh, God.
Ah, yes, ye old waffle stomp. Ye old waffle stomp.
Oh, God. How have I never heard that term before?
Waffle stomp.
We're wasting so many titles.
Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness
Ye old waffle stomp.
of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 71 of Mythos Busters. I'm Sean. Joining me tonight is the full crew. It's Friday night. We're punchy as hell. This is going to be fun. Hey Scott, how are you?
I'm good. A little tired, but I am alive.
Yes, and I feel like the right level of punchy depends on also the right level of tired being in there. I think that's
very
just
true.
A very integral part of the mix.
It's a razor's edge sometimes, but
It
I
sure
would agree.
is. Yeah. And of course we have Ian. Hey Ian.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. The light burned out in the room where I usually record, so I'm recording by lantern light at the moment. So I got some nice ambiance going.
Level 0 or level 2 lantern?
Oh.
I'm gonna say level 0 because I don't know how reliable this thing is.
Probably going to want to wait to remove it from the game though.
Yeah, I'll just throw it at my wall and shatter it at the end of the episode.
Wow, okay, that escalated quickly.
Yeah. At least you won't take an attack of opportunity. So there you go.
And of course we have Nick. Hey Nick.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm just checking my email real quick.
That's great timing of you.
Well, I just got one, so I figured I might as well look. Okay.
Okay.
For more compliments about Excelsior, or
I don't get those directly emailed to me anymore.
No, he has those directly into his veins.
Yeah.
Intravenous. All right.
Carrier pigeon.
So we've got a fun, hopefully a little loose, hopefully a little casual episode for you guys tonight. We're going to announce a couple of fun contests, catch up with everyone, and we're going to finish out the patron questions that we have, or at least try. And as a result of tackling those patron questions, talk a little bit, I think is going to be the biggest one, about the state of the game and kind of extemporate on where we are and where we've been and where we hope to go. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we'll finish it out with some tentacle time. So before we do any of that, though, I want to see what you guys have been playing for Arkham. Scott, got any fun campaigns going on?
I started a solo Dreamlands. One is Patrice, and the other is Joe.
Okay.
Patrice solo is... I'm not going to say... Okay, I know because I
haven't done it yet.
I listened to the last episode, and you do need to play her.
Yes, I do.
Solo. I'm not going to say she's the best. However, I'm going to say she's probably in the top 5 of best solo investigators. However, she is by far number 1, the most fun to play, hands down.
I
How do you measure fun?
Like just every
by
turn,
the number
I'm
of
excited.
cards that fly by you.
Honestly, it's just every turn I'm like, I'm excited to play this turn. Like no matter what's going on, it's just,
every turn's a new puzzle.
You should have played Fight Club.
I tried to, but
everyone's Patrice in Fight Club. Anyway, you should link me your Patrice deck at some point because she's the one I have yet to play from Dream Eaters.
There's a lot of Patrice decks out there.
Yeah, and I tried building one, and I was like, I don't know how to do this, so I didn't.
I found a lot of success with
that follows.
I found a lot of success with about like half assets, but minding very carefully which icons are on the assets.
Oh, sure.
So that I'm like just making sure my icon balance is correct. And then my mulligan strategy, this sounds terrible, is literally draw 5 cards. Did I get violin? No. Chuck them all. Draw 5 cards.
What? In a 45-card deck? How does that actually pan out?
It's okay.
Can we go to the hypergeometrics, please?
The thing is, like, okay, so you mulligan into a great hand. Well, you better use all of it or it goes away. Like, I find the violin, especially in solo, is such a tempo upkeep. And, like, I usually get resources almost every time because I play an asset-heavy deck. I want to have those assets out so that once you get through your deck once to maybe 1.5 times, like, your rig is set. And then you're just drawing events and stuff you can chuck. And, yeah. So.
Sure. Okay. I see
Yeah.
it. I mean, the violin's really good. I just, one card out of 45. I can't imagine that you see it very often, even with hard mulligan.
You're looking at 1 in 4, 1 in 5 chance of seeing it if you just mulligan hard.
Sure.
But, and then I also ran last episode. I was not here because I was running a Labyrinth of Lunacy event at a local store. That went really well. They were successful. And I'm going to go on a limb here, even though I've only played Blob once in like big multiplayer and it was just our 12-player thing at nights. I really enjoyed Blob for what it is. I think Labs is the better epic multiplayer event, only because of all the different layers and like the interchanges and how like you can't talk to the other teams, but you can like send them event or notes and stuff through the vent, and then you go and talk to them, and you don't know what you're looking for. Like, especially that first time. I don't know. I
agree.
Labs.
I agree.
The blind play of Labyrinths is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, even I think it's still.
I hesitate to think it has the same legs as Blob, but yeah, fully agreed. Like, just sitting down, first time playing either of them, Labyrinths was.
Yeah.
I think Labyrinths relies more on the epic multiplayer. Like, it's better at that, but it also relies on that. Like, if you're playing it just a single group, then in my opinion it's boring. But even epic multiplayer, knowing how it works out, I think it's still pretty fun. Whereas Blob is one that you can play single group and still enjoy it, So
absolutely. Funny story. So everyone playing it was blind. Absolutely everyone, which was awesome. And I was like, oh, should I play? Because we only had 9 players. I was like, oh, I could jump in a group, and I was like, no, I should probably host. And man, am I glad I hosted, because there's just so much going on, especially when everyone's blind except for me. And one of the best things is, when you can put a note or whatever through the vent, and you can send resources, story assets, or like an actual written note. This team sent resources to another team with a little note, and the note was just a penis. Like, they just drew a dick.
That seems like a valid use of that mechanic.
I just thought it was really funny. I don't know. I laughed a lot. Because they did send resources too.
Dick butt.
They should have sent dick butt.
When in doubt, dick butt.
When in doubt.
Or but it went really...
They're gone.
I was going to say, it just went really well. Wandering Took was there.
Right on.
If anyone knows him from COTR
I do.
area. Yeah.
I have now met him in person.
Yeah. Oh!
I've seen
really
his corporeal form. What?
Yeah, I'm on his stream on Monday playing Arkham.
Cool.
So, there'll be more details. I'll post it somewhere, but yeah.
Excellent. Ian, what you been playing?
I've been busy with a lot of stuff, but this kind of goes into our later state of the game discussion, but I feel like I'm actually at the point in this game now where I'm doing a lot of deck experimenting and just like trying out a card that I haven't used a lot and just like putting it up against standalones and then tweaking. Like, I haven't really done that a lot in the life of this game so far, but I feel like I'm doing that a lot more lately, and maybe that's a reflection of where we're at in the card pool at last. But
spoilers.
All of that is a preamble.
Save it for the cast.
That I've been trying out a solo Tony Morgan Crystallizer deck, because I was thinking about what card have I not really tried out yet. So the Crystallizer of Dreams. So this is the rogue accessory where every time you play an event, it goes under the Crystallizer, and then you can commit those events later on for their icons. So basically, this deck is super event heavy. There's like 18 events, and all of them except for 2 are like double icons of the same icon, so like double combat, double agility. And so basically he's paying for these events. They go under Crystallizer, and then he has the equivalent of like a Guts or Overpower without the card draw, obviously. But it ends up, I'm still tweaking it, but it ends up working out really well. Because running it solo, I'm having him use the Seeker access. I chose Seeker. So he'll do something like play Working a Hunch, grab a clue, it goes under Crystallizer, and then he has 2 intellect icons to do just a straight up intellect test. So all of a sudden Tony becomes way more versatile than he was before.
I've tried the Crystallizer in Preston because of all the favor cards, but I didn't find it too successful. But I think it sounds like it'd be better in Tony because he actually has stats. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I was kind of running through the rogues in my head, like, because I started at Crystallizer. I'm like, who can use this? I thought about Preston, but I thought, oh, maybe Tony, because like he just kind of has the combat covered. He's pretty good at resource generation as opposed to like spending the resources like someone like Skids, because with the bounties, like between the bounties and Lone Wolf, I'm able to afford these events because most of them are like 2 costers, like the favors and logical reasoning and some of the other events I have in here. But I haven't really had a problem yet with paying for anything.
I built a Safina deck that used Crystallizer, and then I dismantled it. Because I played Safina like once, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But it seemed like that would be a decent fit, because she has a lot of events
Back
anyway.
to Guardian.
Yeah. Wait a minute, this isn't
Let me
blue!
give you the rundown of Safina. Play events and spells.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And spell events if you can, even.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just seemed like a good match, but then at the same time I was like, is this just the low-hanging, angry ground fruit? Anti-ground fruit?
Anti.
Yeah,
it was
actually
supposed to be anti, it ended up angry.
And I fucked it up, yeah.
I started out with Safina, actually, is the first one I tried, and I want to go back to work with it because I think it can work. But the problem I found is a lot of the events I really like these days in Safina, like let's say a Deny Existence or a Premonition, they're kind of cards that you like waiting around for the right moment to use. You know what I mean? Whereas like these Tony ones, like it's more I'm proactively just, okay, I got logical reasoning, let me play it. Now I have 2 will icons. Like it's more of this constant cycle. Like as soon as I'm getting events, I'm kind of playing them. Where I'm sure you can totally build a good Safina deck, but I think Crystallizer deck, but I would have to think through better like what the suite of events looks like. Because it wouldn't necessarily be my favorite Safina events. It'd be like which ones are going to work really well with Crystal.
Probably lean more green events than purple.
Yeah,
I'd
very
imagine.
well could be because all the favors like work really well with it.
I was building a Safina deck for a campaign I'm playing with Mr. Trench and Brian, and I was looking at the what do you call it? The thing of dreams.
Crystallizer?
Crystallizer, thank you.
Crystal Geyser.
And yeah, I was looking at the events and I'm just like, I don't know that it fits. Like, I think you have to build a Safina Crystallizer, not put Crystallizer into a Safina deck.
Yeah,
Sure. No, that makes sense, yeah.
It's very much not like, oh, let me just toss this card in. Yeah, you have to really got to be conscious of the icons on your event events. But one of the interesting things I found, like, that deck has it's just 2 quick thinkings. That's the only skill, and I could probably run it with no skills because basically your events are turning into skills.
Yeah.
The only thing is, though, is like with any deck that relies on one card, like if you don't see Crystallizer, then it's like, oh, like I can do stuff, but
How have you found the bonded enemy to be as an obstacle?
Well, for Tony, it's not a huge deal because he's basically built to kill things.
What, him?
With Safina, it was more of an obstacle. like taking up more of her resources to kill stuff. And the first Tony run was also funny because my random basic was a Silver Twilight Acolyte, so he had 3 enemy weaknesses in there between his signature and Silver Twilight, and then the Crystallizer enemy. So that was interesting. I got all 3 of them out in one game, which even for Tony was a bit of a struggle.
I have a Tony deck built that I'm in the middle of a campaign right now, but the next campaign I start, I'm going to try out a Kluver Diana with like a hard enemy Tony, so I went Guardian with it. And I've got Crystallizer in there as well, so I'm interested to see how it goes.
Nice.
I think it's going to be bad. Maybe. I had to try it. It's just like it's the only bonded card that I've yet to try.
Sure. Yeah, that's kind of why I was thinking of. Well, I still have to try the the Hungering Blade.
Oh yeah, I haven't done that one either.
Fun.
Because that one's an
right
XP card, so yeah.
It's that one's in a very interesting place because it's a one of.
Yeah.
It's a low XP. Like, it kind of takes the same spot roughly as Machete, but I feel like you probably don't take it in solo because there's not going to be enough enemies around to kill what you need. So it's just in an interesting niche. Anyway, Nick, what you been playing?
Let's see, what have I been playing? I haven't been playing Dream Eaters, even though I love it so far. I don't want to start another Dream Eaters campaign, because I have 2 going right now. So what I did was I built solo Mandy, and started running her through Return to Carcosa, since I haven't played that yet. And then I've been interjecting the standalones in between. And it's been okay. I mean, it's fun, but like I ended Curtain Call with 0 experience. And then I ended The Last King with 2 experience. And I was like, this is great. So then I went to the Bayou, and I came back with 1 experience.
Are you a werewolf?
No, I am not. Aww. I have Lady Esprit, though. Yeah, I did...
That's almost as good.
I did some quote-unquote illegal deck modification after Rougarou, because I was like, I have like 6 cards in here that I threw in just for deck access, just because I was like, it's Mandy, put deck access in there. And then I was like, oh, there's too much deck access and nothing for me to actually get.
Nothing to access.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look at all this cool shit that just shows more cool shit. Like,
you do need some goodies.
Exactly.
In order for it to work.
And I tried, for the first time ever, I included one of the side quest seeker assets. And after 3 scenarios, I never had a situation to play it and trigger it, and I was like, fuck this is coming out of my deck.
Which one did you go with?
I went with the ancient stones or the glyphs or whatever they are.
Sure.
Yeah, and I was like, nope, these aren't... The one that you have to discard cards showing int icons, because I was like, I'm going to have a ton of those.
That one's super time-intensive unless you got something to, like, slap secrets down.
Right.
It is.
But I also was running, because I have Mr. Rook, and so I threw in a couple of Enraptureds in there as well, because I was like, oh, then I can use Enraptured to just stack more secrets on it without having to commit, or without having to ditch cards using its ability.
Yeah.
But then I realized that Enrapture doesn't work on any int test, it only works on investigation. And I was like, well, fuck, like, that's not as...
Wait, what?
Enraptured is only triggers when you use it on an investigation test.
Oh, yeah. For real?
For real.
Is that true?
So it's worse than I thought it was. Like, I was like, how come more people don't play this?
I've been playing that card wrong.
Yeah, it's not as good as I had hoped.
RTFC noob.
Right?
Blowing my fucking
I'm
mind
gonna
right
paste it right now. Yeah, even though I'm doing a ton of investigation tests because it's Mandy, I just never had Enraptured when I needed it because I'm running a 50-card Mandy deck. And then when I had it, I was like, oh, I can parlay or I can do whatever with Intellect. Oh, not with this. Womp womp. So, I go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's kind of weird, like, talking about a 50-card Mandy deck, because you get more of her signature event thing. But to me, it's like, it gets you a clue, like, a free clue. Mm-hmm. But I'm also like, but Mandy also has Intellect 5 and just gets clues.
Oh,
so, like,
yeah.
I've been preferring a tighter deck at, like, 30 cards.
No, that's what I'm learning. I wanted to do it because I I was like, okay, I get to choose. I'm going to try doing a 50 card and see how it works.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned is that probably over half the time when I end up getting whatever her signature is, when I'm searching, I'm like, there are no clues at my location, so I'm going to choose not to trigger this. Like, this is fun, choosing not to use my signature. That's awesome. Whereas, like, whatever the Seeker levels, the Seeker null cost one, that does the same sort of effect when you reveal it, you get to...
Astounding Revelation.
Yeah, that one's amazing, because it's like, oh, 2 resources, yay! But hers is just like, meh. So, I mean...
I haven't played a lot with Mandy, but I feel like solo you play 30 cards, 2 players 40, 3 players 50, because you can start to get that toolbox. Like,
sure,
I'm getting clues, but I also have like guidance and these weird secret cards that no one plays. And then for 4 player, you get 50 card Mandy, and they get 2 versatile as soon as possible.
Oh, shut up. Really? Are you being facetious?
No,
Okay.
I'm facetious.
God damn it.
But I do think that in bigger multiplayer games, I think she's better at bigger deck size, because you can throw in all these weird 1-ofs or even 2-ofs of these niche cards.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would agree.
I'd say she runs best at 50 cards no matter what.
You're lying.
So what do you do? So have you played her true solo?
No, that I have not.
Okay, I was going to ask what you do.
Caveat there.
I was going to ask what you do for her off class, because I started with Mystic, and then after 2 scenarios, I actually switched it to Survivor. I'm like, Survivor's probably going to carry more of the weight that I need, because she can only do events and skills, and Mystic events and skills aren't great at enemy management. Like, Mystic doesn't have...
I think Rogue's pretty decent for that count.
Sure.
You can take like Decoy and Slip Away is pretty good in
But
Mandy.
Yeah.
the difference is that I've played Rogue a lot more than Survivor, so I was like, I'm going to try Survivor and see, you know what I mean? I did Mystic because that seemed like the one to do. But then I was like, this isn't working. Like, when is Mystic going to get an event spell that deals damage? You know what I mean? Like their... whatever that's called. Like, you know how they have events for evading and for investigating, but not for...
Sure.
Storm of Spirits hits everything, but I mean something more... Yeah. Anyway.
You mean just like single burst DPS event?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. It was fun. Like, I like her. I like her a lot. She's a lot of fun. 50 cards is an interesting way to do it. And I'm excited to try her now with this Survivor build, because I haven't actually tried that yet, so we'll see.
I like her with Survivor Rogue.
Sure.
I'm not a huge fan of the Mystic one, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just a weird selection.
I still have yet to try her with Mystic Splash, oddly enough, because I've been running her alongside someone who either is Mystic or takes off-class Mystic. So.
Sure.
I have her in my two-handed as Mystic, but yeah.
Who's she paired with?
Tommy. That's Tommy and Mandy, two-handed.
That makes sense. I would probably do her Mystic with Tommy then.
Yeah, because it's kind of some of the supporty stuff in Mystic that works out. Yeah. And I prefer 40 card Mandy because it's a nice indecisive choice right in the middle.
All right, Fence Rider, calm down. Good
and
Lord, take a frickin' lane.
To really quick address Casey, he said that she can benefit from a lot of Mystic Control stuff, and I do agree, and that's what I started with. Like, that was the 10 that I was going with her originally, were Mystic Control, you know, like Deny Existence and that sort of stuff. Ward of Protection, obviously. Yeah. But I just got to a point where I wasn't capable of dealing enough damage with that, even like with that suite of Mystic cards. So I've switched to Survivor, and we'll see. I don't even remember what I put in instead for Survivor, because, you know, Survivor events don't have a whole lot of damage options either, so I might end up just going Rogue.
Excellent. So then for my part, I actually have to amend what I said earlier. I did start a solo Patrice campaign. My mistake was that it was Return to Dunwich.
Wow.
So I played. I played through, because as is my
Are
want.
you new?
Wait, did you forget what?
No, just we're getting there. We're getting there. The problem was I started with the House Always Wins like I normally do. So I was like, all right, yeah, one scenario in, went pretty well. On to the next one. I think I got 2/3 of the way through extracurricular activity before I saw Beyond the Veil. And as soon as I draw it, I was like, Well, so I've actually just decided that it's going to be my most high-flying, stressful campaign I've ever played. We're going to see it through to the end. I made it through.
Do you have double ward, double deny?
Double ward, double deny. Yep. So hopefully that will carry the day.
Hopefully that lines up at some point. Question mark.
My best bet. No, I can't do that. Never mind. I thought about that and immediately had to nix it. She can't take Diana Esperance. That's not a thing she can do.
No.
Nope.
Trying to think what else. There's like Perseverance. There's Devil's
Eidetic.
Blood. She's got
Wait,
options.
no, never mind. That's inside
Alter
only.
Fate is
Alter Fate, yeah.
Sure, Alter Fate, Quantum Flux. I mean, there's so much tech I can build in.
Quantum Flux is a good
But
one.
as someone who's played Arkham a lot, and specifically played Dunwich a lot, I feel like I played Dunwich more than any other campaign, because just like at that point when that campaign was releasing, it was so starving for content and just gobbled it up so readily. One would think that I would have realized it before I drew the goddamn treachery, but I did not. So anyway, got that going on. I've got my Jim and Joe TCU campaign on the table next to me. I'm going to be wrapping up in the Clutches of Chaos after we finish recording. It's going pretty well. It's a really slow burn. Like, it's the consummate Mystic build-up, late-game steamroll type build. But the whole Jim filtering bad stuff tokens with upgraded Sixth Sense, Wither, Olive... It's a
fun.
really fun deck
really
if
fun.
you can get carried the first, part of the scenario. Which is why,
Yeah.
Sure.
which is why pairing him with Joe has worked out so well, because Joe can just go, just hit the ground running, man.
That was the last multiplayer Arkham I played. I played Joe and Evan played Control Jim. And
I know,
it's
we
really
talked about
fun.
that last
Oh, we
time.
did, didn't we?
We sure did.
So
it's great.
So what's your plan for Before the Black Throne? Like, do you go into that scenario with a plan?
Pray.
Oh, just in general? Okay, I thought I was missing another, key mechanical
No,
flaw
because
in
I've
my-
only played it twice, and both in standalone. Like, I haven't played it in campaign yet, and so, playing it standalone, I was just like, how do you plan for this? Like, what do you do?
I don't think you can, because all of the key locations end up in random spots. So you
Yeah.
just kind of hope
And
that
you lose, like,
can
a third
go
of
to
your
the right part of
deck.
the map. Yeah. Yeah, so... yeah, that's definitely another thing with all that empty space. I'll be honest, I've only played Before the Black Throne 2 times.
Same here.
That's how light I am on TCU. Normally by the
Same
time a campaign
here,
has been
yeah.
out this long, I'd have played it 5 or 6 times, but here
It's so difficult because I really like Before the Black Throne. I just wish there was a different way to get empty space than taking my cards. Like, that's the one thing about it. Like, I'm okay with the random location assortment. It's just like, okay, I'm literally losing almost a third of my deck just to fill in the table space, and that's frustrating. But I like everything else about the scenario. Like, I like this feeling like, okay, there's this vast expanse that I have to try and get across, and I can see enemies moving through this expanse. Like, that's so cool. It's just, it
if
sucks.
it helps, it's a lot less pronounced a problem in multiplayer. If you've played
That's
it
fair.
solo a couple times.
Yeah, I played it solo, yeah.
It
But it's like,
steals a lot of cards.
that's the thing, is like, that vast expanse is my bars and my machetes and my, you know what I mean? Like, it's my junk floating around out there. So,
Man, I'll tell you what, I am running... My Joe deck is pretty basic bitchy. It's
that's how Joe works.
well, yeah, exactly. But I am running 2 Studious and Ace of Swords,
Nice.
and just 2 cards added to
Frickin'
your hand.
Studious. Yeah.
Studious is
Seriously,
great.
Those were among my first upgrades, and I've played 4 games with both of them in my deck so far, and it makes a damn difference. It's pretty amazing how much that... I don't know, maybe I've just gotten lucky, but I feel like the math really swung in my favor.
He can't take lucky.
All right now. All right, so yeah, that's about all I got going on.
I kind of threw in the towel on my Jim Jenny experiment because for the reasons you like, the Jim side, like you mentioned, just that slow ramping. Like, it was good. Like when someone's getting him to the point where he's like just riding on all these skull tokens, like he could pass a bunch of tests at like +1 up or 0, but I just relying on Jenny to do all the killing I had to do was just not working out in my favor. So
Which kind of gym build did you go? Were you going with like bad stuff filtering, or were you doing like sealing?
A touch of both, but more.
Oh, see, there's your problem.
But more so
There's
just
your
the
problem.
filtering.
Sure.
I mean, the only ceiling is just Chthonian stone, like that. Everything else was on the filtering side, but
That's fair.
The big problem was just Jenny not being able to, like, he just was not able to contribute enough damage dealing, and Jenny was like more of a flex, and instead she was having to kill everything. Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, going hard in on the token filtering it gives me hope that it's like it is a viable deck type now. Like I said, it just requires that you get carried a little bit in the beginning, or I don't know, maybe if we have another investigator that has an ability that works with filtering but can investigate well before they get completely set up, then it's definitely going to be a thing.
Yeah.
But I've got Wither and Sixth Sense in play, one copy of Recall the Future in play, and then my hand is Jewel of Aureolus, Defiance level 2, Premonition, and Olive. And just like any combination of these cards, you've got a trick. Like it's just a very interesting headspace to get into.
Yeah.
To be filtering the tokens, because you get 2 Recall the Futures down, all of a sudden you're looking at the Chaos bag completely differently than you would every time you take a test.
Oh, for sure. And I don't know about you guys, but the first couple times I did an Olive test, I was very nervous. Like, even though I knew theoretically the math is in my favor with Jim and like some of the tests I was doing, there's something uncanny about drawing 3 tokens, but then you start seeing the power of it.
Olive,
You gotta be just like Olive and try it once.
I've loved Olive since, like, she's one of the, like, normally with that Mystic stuff, not so much now, but especially, like, a couple cycles ago, I was like, God, I hate the risk. Like, I hate that level of risk. But as soon as Olive came out, I was like, that looks fun. And she's been one of my favorite allies. I love her. But yeah, it's hard to get over that sometimes where it's like, I have to pick 2? Like,
Yeah.
but what if they're all bad?
I mean, the thing is like you just kind of have to accept that risk when you play hard Mystic mechanics, because they're like, I love Olive and I love this type of build. I will fully admit there are some tests where I'm like, oh, Olive, you fucked me.
Oh, sure.
You fucked me, Olive.
But it's still super fun to like do Olive and then do Dark Prophecy and then commit Defiance and just be like, all right.
Yeah.
I am in control now.
Or you know what's even more fun? Having 2 Recall the Futures out and then Olive a Premonition.
Yes.
And call the 2 tokens you see, and you're just going to pass like any test.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, really fun deck space, I think. I think maybe we don't have the investigator yet that can truly harness it, but the asset mix and kind of the mechanics are there. So really interested to see how that continues to go. Okay, so let's move on then to the actual show. God, we spent 40 minutes. No, hang on. That was like 20 minutes of shitty cold opens and preamble.
I think we're at about 30 minutes of show.
Okay.
Ish.
So, we want to remind everyone, because we made the tactical blunder last episode, where we announced a bunch of cool stuff that we were doing on the episode that a lot of people are probably avoiding, because it was also the episode that had a ton of spoilers about a very new scenario. It was not our best tactical move ever. So, what I would encourage anyone to do, if that is you, if you gave our Excelsior run through a pass, go listen to the first little while of it before we get into any spoiler territory, because there's a lot of fun announcements. Short version, we'll do it here. We've got a merch store. We've got a bunch of cool stuff out there for you to buy. I've really enjoyed the products myself. I'm wearing a Mythos Buster shirt right now as we record, just in the spirit of things. Check it out at mythosmerch.com. And then as well, we have restructured our patron tiers to kind of offer some more robust benefits for people between $5 and the board. So, again, short version, go check it out. We've got a blog post on our website that really runs down the details. Otherwise, you can just go check it out on our Patreon. Ian, we've got a couple of announcements for contests. Yeah, you want to run us through those?
Sure. So the first contest, I'll do this part first. So last time around, as we were leading up to Arkham Knights and Iron Man, we were kind of trying to get people involved in playing along at home. And we encouraged people to, if they did do their own Iron Man at home, use the SneckFest 2019 hashtag. With the promise that we would draw a random winner from among the people who use that hashtag to win some of our Arkham Knights goodies, such as the special Iron Man playmat, which is amazing. I love looking at it every time I play, and the special exploration deck topper that we made for Arkham Knights as well. So I'm going to randomly generate a number so I can pick from among the SneckFest 2019 participants. Let's see what we get. Okay. So the winner is Outer Rim Social Club is the Twitter handle. So if you're listening, Outer Rim Social Club, get in contact with us. And we'll also be tweeting this out and Facebooking this out. So hopefully that will get to the right individual.
And let us know how many people in your play group for your Iron Man thing.
Yes.
Because we're outfitting all of you with the swags.
The swags, yes. That is the correct plural of swag, right?
Yeah.
The swags. Okay, and we have a new contest coming up, and this is part of the Blackest Friday kind of set of contests that is all overseen and kind of run by the Twisted Tentacle Inn, and all the prizes provided by Twisted Tentacle. And so we've been asked to participate again this year, and of course we want to, because this is such a fun way to bring in the community. And we have a freaking amazing prize to give away, which is the entire Circle Undone cycle.
Jeez.
Yeah, this is not like some small potatoes prize. Whoever wins this contest is going to get the entire TCU cycle. So I believe this was actually your idea. So Scott, why don't you explain what they have to do to win TCU?
Wait, Scott came up with this idea? No way.
I did, yeah. So Nick and Ian have been doing NaNoWriMo, and I was like, man, I want to get on NaNoWriMo, but I'm a terrible writer. So to support them, I committed to writing one haiku a week.
A week?
I know that's a lot.
Yeah, slow down there, bud.
I might, yeah. So I figured for this contest, I want people to write an Arkham-themed haiku. And if you're not sure, if you don't know what a haiku is, Japanese poetry, basically 3 lines. First line is 5 syllables. Second line is 7 syllables. Third line is 5 syllables. Yeah, doesn't need to rhyme or anything. It's all based on syllables. So
it's one of those minimalist formats.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot. But to make it really good, it does take effort.
Yeah.
Like
yes. It just, so I'm excited to see what you guys can come up with, because I love writing like the dumbest of haikus. So, yeah.
Yeah. So,
and that's an amazing prize.
It is.
I can't believe he's giving that away. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So big thanks again to Twisted Tentacle for allowing us to give away such an amazing prize. So to enter the contest, what you're going to do is write that fantastic haiku and send it to our email, mythosbusterspod@gmail.com.
Excellent. And yeah, so we will announce the winners on the next episode.
Yes. Yeah.
So make sure you get those in. Let's see here. What else we got? Ian, patron stuff. I'm going to hand it back to you already.
Sure. Here I go again. All right. Thanks to our board members, Chris B, Chris H, Chris U, Cyclos, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Dave, Abilio, Nathan, Chad, and Robert. Thank you so much, board, for your huge support of the podcast. And a special shout out to a random patron this time around is Robert Logaman III. Very impressive name.
Third,
Robert.
Yeah.
Are the first and second Robert Logamans also patrons, or just?
I don't believe so, but that's something we can.
We just
work
skip
on,
to
I'm
the
sure.
third one, or
I think you only get the title of the third if you kill the first and second.
That's
Oh,
true.
right.
He has Highlander rules. That's why.
Exactly, yeah. Mhm.
Yes. All right, and we have a couple of new additions to the Mythos Busters offices, some new job titles to give out. First up, Tim Ardle is going to be the Zoog Warren Superintendent. So, going to be in charge of making sure those Zoogs swarm in the proper places and not all over the cubicles. And second, we have Christian Forster, who's going to be the errant portal plugger. Say that 10 times fast.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the office, guys.
Yes.
Glad to have you.
Thanks, Tim and Christian.
super quick just to cut in because I realized we didn't. Did we say the deadline for the haiku contest?
Yes, Sean said we'll be announcing winners next episode.
Yes.
Never mind.
Well, that's not as clear as it could have been, so thank you, Scott.
I
make
think
sure
it's
you
clear.
get it in. You know, we're recording this on, what is this? It is the 15th
Friday.
of November. We will very likely be recording in about 2 weeks. So, pay attention to our Discord or, just get it in as quickly as you can. It's probably a good idea. But we're likely going to be announcing the winners at the beginning of December. Maybe the late part of November. We'll
You're
see.
you're safe inside of a week, so plan for a week.
Yeah.
Let's say November 28th is a soft deadline for yourself, listener. Because that's a Thursday, and we probably won't record on a Thursday.
Yes, true.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Okay. Ian, any other patron stuff?
Nope.
Nick, you got community stuff?
I think Ian already did it. Our community stuff was the...
Oh.
Or did we do that one already?
No, I haven't.
No,
done
we did
that
not.
yet. Yeah.
Ian, do you want to cover this since you know more about it than I do?
I think we need a disclaimer that this is an Ian heavy episode.
Yes.
So-
We're leaning hard on the Ian.
all right, so this just came into our little email inbox today, and this is pretty cool. Old School Gamer has emailed us, and I think also posted on Board Game Geek, so this announcement is out. But Old School Gamer has come up with a kind of fun little holiday challenge. So this is the Arkham Horror LCG Holiday Chaos Ultimatum Throwdown Challenge. It's a big mouthful, but the premise is simple, which is that the idea is to use the Ultimatum of Chaos, which is basically choosing an investigator and having a random deck created for them. So the easiest way to do this is to use the function on ArkhamDB where you can choose an investigator and then hit Chaos and it'll generate a random deck for you. And then to take that random deck through a full campaign. So that is the challenge. I think the deadline has been set for, I think mid-January is when kind of the idea is to aim for everyone finishing their challenge. And there's not really any prizes attached at this part. At this point, it's just for like a fun community challenge to see how well people can do with what are probably going to be some pretty terrible decks.
I haven't generated a Chaos deck in a good long while, but I imagine the card pool's kind of got enough niche cards to screw things up that it's got to be pretty rough at this point to do a Chaos deck, right?
It's terrible.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, in a good way, but you're just like, what am I? What?
What am I? That's good.
and I feel like some investigators would be more terribler than others. Too.
That was going to be my question is, okay, so which investigators do you think are more resilient to the random deck?
Contrary to Josh in the chat, I'm going to say Patrice is actually might be the best because if you have bad cards in your
It's just
hand,
icons.
well, they're icons, but also you get a new hand every turn. So like all those bad cards you don't use, they're now gone. There you go.
So I just really quick did a
Oh my
random
God,
Rex
Chaos
deck.
Lola.
Chaos Lola.
Chaos Lola. I can't even fathom. So you did a Rex deck. Okay.
And this looks
Hey, one of the splash was delved too deep.
yeah, this looks pretty bad.
4
Look at all
body
those
slot
one-ofs.
items.
Look at all those one-ofs. And
2
his
book of lore.
and his 2 backpacks. Oh, this will go great.
Winging It's not terrible in Rex. You could
For
do something
all
with that.
Please.
For all 4 of those items.
Yeah, for all. Yeah, exactly.
So maybe we'll push this to next time unless you guys think we have the time. But I was gonna, if we were all interested in participating, I was gonna have us quickly randomly generate a deck and see.
Let's do that next time. I feel like that could be fun.
Yeah. So
totally down for that.
Your homework is take some time and think about what Oh, even better. No. The community is gonna pick our investigators for.
Oh shit! Yeah. Okay though. I don't like it, but okay.
I just have to think about a good way to tally votes. Maybe I'll do it on Twitter or something.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Stay
Twitter,
tuned.
Facebook. Doesn't Facebook have polls? Or is that just in groups?
It used to. They don't anymore.
Yeah.
Damn.
What? Stay tuned for Twitter or
We
our
might have to
various
share a link to a
channels.
straw poll, perhaps.
Figure out this Lola deck I just posted.
Yeah, maybe one of the straw poll sites. Anyway, keep tuned to our community outlets, and you'll have a chance to vote for who we're gonna play. But don't pick Lola for everyone. I'm gonna say we each have to have a different investigator, so don't give us all the same investigator.
She has access to the entire level 0 pool. She pulled 2 skills. That's crazy.
And they're both from the same class.
Yeah.
God, Switchblade medical techs.
Like, what's the optimal first turn for this deck?
Just resigning.
Don't die.
Turn 1, resign.
Key, Thompson. Yeah, I'm out of here.
Not even the courtesy.
That's not in there.
I'm out of here. Yeah.
No, you're right. I love the 2 uncage the souls with no spells. That's pretty amazing. That's special.
Oh, this is gonna be like somewhat frustrating, but also really fun. I think.
Oh my god! I just need to know before we go into this that no one is actually going to get saddled with Lola.
Please, one of us will.
We'll talk about the rules. But
all right, fine.
We'll talk.
And I know now that I'm the one who said it. It's gonna be me.
It's gonna be my.
I need to loop back to this Rex Murphy deck just really quick, okay? 3 different allies, which are good sanity soak.
Yep.
Rex Murphy has 9 sanity. You've got 2 guts to pass those treacheries, plus a fearless to heal that horror, and it has 2 desperate searches.
2 desperate searches.
Oh man.
Not exactly synergistic.
These are gonna be so terrible.
Oh god. Oh.
Okay.
And then 4 items in the body slot.
Yep.
Oh my god.
And only 5 cards that can go on backpack. There's 2 of.
Just an empty backpack with a trench coat in it.
And another backpack
with a backpack in it.
Backpacks all the way down.
Okay, we need to move on before we
Yes.
we delve too deep into this shithole.
Man.
All right. Oh god, I want to throw it to Ian again for what
gosh,
news we have, but I
news.
feel bad about it.
So Ian heavy. It's really quick. So we didn't get any new articles. We just got a weird teaser post on the FFG socials that was like, "Hey investigators, we intercepted this transmission and it was encrypted, and people worked and cracked it within like 20 or 30 minutes or so, I think." But basically, from that post, kind of the salient points are, we still don't know what's coming, but it was kind of from the point of view of cultists saying there will be an emergency meeting on November 21st. So people are thinking there's going to be some kind of announcement on November 21st. But then it ends by saying, "Be sure you're not followed. Bring milk. All hail Meowlithep." So this is kind of a reference actually to the April Fool's Barkham Horror article that came out earlier this year on April 1st. So no one knows really what to make of it so far, although some are wondering, is Barkham Horror actually going to be real?
One thing I think we need to add to this is that the coded like jumble of letters that came out. I don't know anything about cryptology and figuring out all this stuff, but the cipher and maybe this will make sense to like 3 listeners.
Sure.
The cipher that they used was April Fool's.
Yeah.
So there's some like if you put those letters into a cipher figure or outer, and you use the cipher.
Sure, you've never done this
Fool-
before?
Never. Yeah. I'm an expert. I ain't no rocket surgeon, but I know codes. Yeah. So April Fool's is there too, which is cool. Oh God, I hope Barkham Horror is coming out.
Like, what would it even look like? Like, just a standalone expansion?
You're really hairy.
Comes with a dog
I'd be
treat.
okay. I'd honestly be okay if it was just like a Mythos pack size thing, or maybe like a
Sure.
standalone pack size thing with just player cards that are just rethemed as dog cards.
I'd use them
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd
as
be
long
fine
as
with
it's
that.
not like a bunch of backpacks.
And all combat icons are paws.
Oh my God, yes. It's just a bunch of alt art cards, right? With dogs.
Sure.
That'd be
Dog
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
I'd
that's
buy
it though.
I'd be surprised. At this
I would
point.
too.
Yeah.
It's probably not that.
It's just funny because I can't really remember if they are doing something with this. I can't remember them really doing like a joke expansion for a game.
Yeah,
Like other
it's
game
very
companies
like
have, but-
unhinged. Yeah, like Magic type stuff.
Magic, yeah.
Which those were hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll find out next week if there is an announcement on the 21st.
All
Here's
hail
hoping.
Meowletheth.
Meow.
I can't say that.
Hotep.
Yeah, Lohotep.
Yep.
Okay, so guys, let's break into our main discussion topic here. So we're going to start into our patron questions. First one we're going to address is going to be the meatiest, probably going to take up the largest amount of time. And this comes to us courtesy of board member Ian, who we missed at Arkham Knights this year. Hopefully we see you next year. Now that we are 4.5 cycles into the game, how do you feel your ideas, opinions, and strategies about the game have changed? Have they changed just because of the increased card pool, or have certain cycles changed how you look at the game? Example, how Forgotten Age and Calvin have or have not changed folks' opinions about trauma.
Has anyone else felt that trauma's not as scary?
Faux
Sorry.
show. Faux show.
Okay. Please
Agree.
continue.
And honestly, I think TFA specifically was how that happened. It was just like, oh, here's a trauma. And I'm like, oh, God, I hate it. But
Yeah.
the number of campaigns I've had where that actually caused me a loss is not, like, I think maybe one.
Non-zero sum,
Right.
but not much
Right.
more than zero.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as one would have thought. Like, you can play around it. Chances are, once it's actually to a point where the game would be beating you up badly enough that it would make a difference, your deck is kind of way more powerful anyway, so...
And Josh raises a good point, and this is common in a lot of other card games. Magic is where I learned it as far as your health. Is health and sanity are just resources to spend, right? As long as your opponent is at 0 and I'm at not 0, right? So like 1 or more, it doesn't matter what my health is. It could be 100 or 1. And in this game, I think if you hit R1 and you're 1 health and 1 sanity away from dying, well, you still got R1. So,
Yep.
and
Yeah, I
that's
think
that's
there's
a really
definitely-
hard way to, yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. And I don't know when it was. I wish I could pinpoint it. But there was a certain point in the game's life where attacks of opportunity became a regular tactical play.
Yeah.
And I feel like I didn't start that way at all. I tried to avoid them at all costs. It was just bad. But now there are so many times where it's like, yeah, I'm going to play this. I don't care that I have you.
I would venture to
It's
say
just
that
happening.
that also happened in TFA.
It very well may have.
I think that's where I did it more. Was like, okay, I have 3 snakes on me. I don't really want to kill any of them, but I need this thing out in order to manage them somehow. So,
I hope you like poison.
right.
I remember the Arkham Knights where we were playing 2 years ago, and we were playing that game, Sean, where we went through the core set with all the side things, and we were trying to figure out how to get the 6th cultist in
Yes. That was a puzzle.
Midnight Masks. And we're figuring this out, and Kenji, who we're playing with, is just like, well, because the way we were spread out, it was like really hard how we're going to get enough damage on her. And he's like, why don't I just engage her and move twice towards you guys?
Right.
And we're like, holy crap! that works. Like, and it was just like, he's like, well, yeah, I can just tank it all. Like, I have enough health and sanity to spend to do that, and it ended up getting us our 6. So
I just picture him like grabbing her by the wrist and dragging her across Arkham as she's like swinging a 2x4 or something.
it was the Mortician too, so it was pretty much that, yeah.
I'm sorry, a femur, swinging a femur.
Yes, a scalpel attached to a femur.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so as far as kind of the ebb and flow of the life of the game, I think the cycles coming out have kind of played the biggest influence because every cycle has its own theme. Mm-hmm. I'd say as far as like generally the way I approach the game now, and I say general in that anytime I sit down to play Arkham Horror, this is the way my mind has changed, regardless of what campaign I'm playing. Evade has gone up in stock in my book. Like, I think, I want to say somewhere in the episodes where we were in like the teens, 20s, there was a conversation we had where like, why does anyone care about evading? Just kill things.
Yeah.
And I was the voice trying to explain why way back then.
Yeah, but you were wrong then.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're wrong then. Now you're right.
Yeah, you're not
Confirmed
right.
in my
You're not
opinions
possibly
now.
right if the game changes to match your viewpoint.
I don't think the game changed. I think it just took you guys a while to realize what was
That has to be
already
it.
there.
But
It's like buying a lottery ticket with last week's winning numbers.
we can still agree that we can still agree that agility is like, if you had to rate the skills, agility is the lowest, right? What's
I don't
worse?
know.
I don't-
for solo. Like, sometimes I rather have high agility just because it gives me more outs sometimes.
Rather than what, though?
You know what I think? I think simply answering that question has become immensely more complicated. And I
You're
think
taking the
that-
coward's way out.
No. But I think that's a really good sign for the health of the game, because you can be like, okay, you know what? I can forego everything if I'm going Mystic Willpower. There's a ton of stuff now where if I want to go hard agility, I mean, I can lockpicks, I can bow. I mean, not at the same time, of course, but I just think I think probably what I'm going to keep coming back to as we discuss the state of the game is that I think the player card pool is in an amazing place where, yeah, you could make arguments for better, worse, more flexible, less flexible, but I feel like most builds are viable at this point, and that's a really cool place to be.
Yeah, and I almost feel like ranking, and of course I'm going to say this because I'm the agility supporter from the beginning, but I almost feel like ranking the stats against each other isn't that helpful or useful, because I feel like for a lot of investigators, or when you're evaluating investigators, it's more like the pairing of the stats. Like, certain pairing of stats tend to be really strong or guide you in a certain direction. Like, for example, Finn, I think a lot of people have eventually come, like, when he first came out, everyone was like, 1 willpower, like, burn him alive. Right. But I think people eventually realized, like, the pairing of like 4 intellect and 4 agility is like super strong, especially for solo. And so
and 3 combat.
Yeah, and 3 combat. So I think
that's
looking at kind of these combinations of abilities is more useful in evaluating, like.
I do agree. I do agree with that, definitely. I'm just saying, there has to be one at the bottom of the barrel.
No, there doesn't.
They don't float.
Yeah. I think I agree that just ranking them alone is very difficult. And also, like, I think it changes in multiplayer versus true solo.
Sure.
And it changes on what you have access to.
Sure.
And it changes, like, yeah, I
It's
don't
almost
think
like the questions become more immensely complicated to answer.
You know what? I'm not even going to say that. I think it is literally impossible to answer. I do
it's not.
think
Agility.
No, I don't think that's correct.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't think you.
Again, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I totally do. But I
just
think,
wanna bug
like, I think if I had to choose, you know, and maybe it's because Survivor is the least played of the classes for me, and the second least played is Rogue right now. Like, I literally play the 3 classes that align with the other 3 skills.
Yeah,
so that's very clearly coloring my perception. But I'm okay.
I'm
also okay with being wrong. So as I've made very clear over the last 71 episodes of the show.
Are you though? No, yeah.
So I guess, do you guys think you pulled any specific lessons out of specific campaigns that you apply more widely now?
Ooh, that is a tough question.
I think we've talked about this on the show before, so might be rehashing old ground. But since this is a retrospective, I think actually it wasn't a cycle, but I feel like the initial Night of the Zealot, it took me so long to shed the lessons from that, because I feel like that taught us a lot of lessons that we were kind of counterproductive. Specifically just this idea of like, because of the way Midnight Mass and Devour Below go, it's just like go. There's no time for setup cards, there's no time for setup turns, and it took me a while to shed that and really realize the value of cards that say like skill boosters that are gonna provide you help later on. And sometimes just like blazing forward is not the right approach for every scenario or investigator.
Okay, so anything else to add on that, guys, before we move on? I don't want to steamroll anyone.
Yeah, I think in what you said, like, I think Night of the Zealot, and also I think the starter decks, as good as they were. Well, I mean, with a single core,
Sure.
There's only so much you can do, right? I think when you go double core, and you can kind of, like, even playing Night of the Zealot double core is hugely different from single core. I think there's just a bunch of things that teach us wrong lessons. I don't know. Like, I feel like those starter decks were aimed to defeat Night of the Zealot and only Night of the Zealot. Like, you taking a starter deck like that into Dunwich would yield, or any other campaign, especially beyond Dunwich, would yield poor results. So
now, when you're referring to the starter decks, you're talking about the one core starter decks, not
Yes.
like, okay,
what we played that night at Worlds.
the very first Adventures of Skids and Daisy.
The very first Iron Man.
Yes, that too.
Yeah. It taught us lessons like skids could be playable. No, that's wrong.
Yeah, but we immediately forgot that lesson, didn't we?
Oh boy. Did we?
All right, so as far as kind of the ebbs and flows of the difficulty of the game, I know that's kind of been a topic we've discussed at great length and in varying levels of crabbiness. But I personally feel that we've had a couple dips in a couple places, a couple specific points of frustration. But honestly, I feel like the difficulty level of this game has stayed fairly even-keeled. The best I can compare it to is Lord of the Rings Drink, where I feel like the difficulty level in that game was a roller coaster. Like, some cycles were like, ha ha, we're gonna just smash your face in, and then the next cycle was, okay, you can enjoy the story now. And I don't know, I just feel like Arkham has done a better job of keeping more consistent. You guys feel the same?
I think I agree with you after Dunwich.
Sure.
Because I think Dunwich was kind of that softball over the plate. And not saying it was bad design. I think it's a well-designed campaign as the first campaign that exists in the 8 scenario format. And like Carcosa came out and Curtain Call came and just punched us all in the nuts. Or your genitals of choice. And then after that, I felt like Forgotten Age got the first playthrough of Forgotten Age, just like 10 out of 10 difficulty. But like, once you played Forgotten Age on the second time and kind of knew what you're doing, I don't think it was that much harder than Carcosa. And then everything's kind of stayed, like you said, on an even keel. There's ups and downs within the scenarios and within the campaign. And I think we go back and forth between really hard first scenarios and okay scenarios, which I think is okay. Like, I'm okay now. Like, Forgotten Age, when we got slapped in the face on the first scenario, and Carcosa, well, I'm not sure which one was harder. But I'm okay. I'm now expecting a bigger slap in the face when I start. And that's okay. Because I know that it's going to ebb and flow.
So I agree with just about everything you said, but I'm not going to let you get away with saying that Forgotten Age was only marginally harder than Carcosa. You remember how close we were in City of Archives to losing so many times?
Sorry, I mean like the starting scenario.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
Right, like,
okay.
Right, like
That
Curtain Call versus whatever
Untamed Wilds.
Untamed Wilds.
Untamed Wilds.
I would agree that the step up from Carcosa to Forgotten Age felt about the same as the step up from Dunwich to Carcosa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And given that Dunwich was... And the funny thing about Dunwich is you have to realize, like, the production lead time is Dunwich was, like, being developed before the game had even been released. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of more of a shot in the dark, and I am honestly glad that it went a little bit easier than harder, because that's going to allow more people... It's just accessibility, and then they can always make it harder with the returns, which they did. And Return to Dunwich is actually a really good campaign.
It is.
It really is. Yeah.
And... would you think do you guys think, I don't know if you talked about this, I had to step away, but do you think it got easier than going to Circle Undone?
I think it stayed around Forgotten Age, but because of the difficulty of Forgotten Age, we were ready for Circle Undone.
Sure.
Yeah. Because there's
Like,
actually
it's
some
like-
pretty tough moments in Circle Undone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there is.
Yeah, there are. I feel like it's just that Forgotten Age is so unforgiving to the blind play
Yes.
that it just feels in our memory and in that part of our brain that remembers the fear and trauma that we were inflicted. it feels so much harder than it actually is because you know, we gamed the shit out of it at Iron Man, and many other people did too, and it's surmountable.
Yeah, it has to be the most like paradigm shifting cycle, the Forgotten Age, because it's true that I cannot remember any point in this game that I was having as much trouble as that initial experience with the box, where I was having some table flipping moments. But now when I go back, like, I have a pretty good success rate against the box, and I don't often get frustrated. Actually, funnily enough, I still think Curtain Call is the opening scenario I still can get surprised by the most. That, like, just the wrong turn of cards, and even my good decks lose. Cause
it's easy to think, like, I've beaten that so many times, or like, I know it, but yeah, that one can really just take a blind turn on you.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so maybe it's a thing that Forgotten Age conditioned us for what came after. But it's also hard to judge, like, some rating of the difficulty of the cycles, because I do think, like, Lord of the Rings was more, and there was definitely a point where the uptick of difficulty went up, and it stayed up forever, and it just kind of, like...
And kind of remains there to this day.
Yes, yeah. Whereas I don't think that's not like look at the Dream Eaters. Looking in that box, I'd say it's actually, compared to Circle Undone and Forgotten Age, probably easier. Even though
I would agree.
Even though you can lose, like I just lost recently, but it's not like there's
had a different
some
experience at the hospital than I did.
But it's also not some clear thing that, the game is getting harder and it keeps getting harder. Like, there's power creep on the encounter side. Like, that's definitely not the case. But yet, we're all still having fun with it, I think.
I think part of that, too, just comes from the structure of Arkham and how each cycle's its own campaign. Like, I know Lord of the Rings, the cycles are kind of like campaigns, but they're not designed to be played start to finish like that. So, like, with Arkham, we have, like, there's this knowledge or this idea that when a cycle begins, it's gonna be relatively easier than when you played the last scenario of the previous cycle. You know, like, there's this, it's always gonna be this resetting of difficulty and then a climb again. You know what I mean? Whereas with Lord of the Rings, it's really just, it's more of a steady line, I would guess.
Yeah. I think, kind of jumping back to what Sean asked about, are there any lessons you learned from the Forgotten Age? And looking at it now and what we're talking about difficulty, I think there's a few lessons I learned from Forgotten Age that have helped me deal with difficulty. One of them is action economy, just because Explorer was just, especially true solo.
Yes.
Like, the amount of treacheries in that explore deck, like, kill me. Yeah, like, honestly, like, it's just like 4-player versus 1-player, right?
Yeah,
and so,
yeah.
and even still in 4-player, right? Like, if you say, okay, you know, Nick, you're going to explore twice, and you draw 2 treacheries,
Right.
Well, now you've lost 2 actions, plus you drew treacheries, right? Like, it's, and so all those other actions you do throughout the game need to be well thought out and efficient, if you will. The other one is trauma doesn't hurt as much as you think it is. So maybe losing a first scenario to a physical trauma, you're like, eh. And then at lower player counts, especially, well, and higher player too, just in general, agility matters. And I know we were joking about it, but not killing things is sometimes okay, because Dunwich and Carcosa said kill things. And Forgotten Age is like, it's okay to not kill things as long as you win.
I think that more players, and this is me telling what people should feel, so strap in. I think more players should feel, more standard players should feel ready to take on hard after playing the Forgotten Age.
Yes. Yes. I think
I appreciate your
Sean
statement,
disagrees.
but I play Deny Existence and ignore that comment.
I still need to take that leap to hard. I still psychologically like.
I have fallen down from, like, I used to play hard. Carcosa was what got me off of hard. Like, from then I started playing standard pretty much all the time. But I played Dunwich and I played Carcosa hard pretty frequently. And I mean, standard to hard isn't a huge swing, but I played a couple games on expert, and that's just, I'm like, no thanks, like, that's too much.
See, I would argue that standard to hard is the biggest jump.
Really?
Because you go up in bag difficulty and you flip that card. The token
Yeah,
thing.
perhaps. I guess I haven't noticed the tokens as much as the straight up modifiers.
Does anyone play on stand hard, where you keep the standard bag but flip the scenario
I've
card?
never tried that. I've thought about it, but I haven't.
That's the closest I think I would get behind, where it's just like...
Or use the expert the hard bag and don't flip the card.
Flip the card. That would be like hardered.
Hardered.
If Stan hard is the one way, then hardered is the other.
For some reason, stand hard didn't bother me, but hardered really does. No. I don't know why.
This one's hard. This one's hardered.
No reason it should.
I will say, as someone who plays, like, the vast majority of my games are hard now, is expert is only something I like to play when
When you
I'm
feel like
playing,
having
like,
a laugh.
No, when I'm usually playing multiplayer, because it's a little bit easier, and having tuned decks.
Oh,
and
sure.
also knowing the campaign well. Like,
Right.
playing blind expert, well, what are you doing with
Like,
your
why
life?
even play?
Yeah, because you're not.
Yeah, just ask
Playing.
the encounter deck what it wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll amend my statement to thus. Or to this rather.
Hard nard.
Yeah, yeah.
Even more.
I'll amend my statement to playing TFA on standard should have gotten more standard players to try Dunwich or Carcosa on hard.
Yes.
Because that -5 in the bag on standard is a big jump when you're used to 3s and 4s. And a 5 or maybe even a 6 is what you can expect from hard in those earlier campaigns. So
Yeah.
that teaches you that you can commit and there will still be tests you will lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you are a player and you play the Forgotten Age and you beat it, I don't want to say handedly, but you have a good control of every scenario, you can easily play Dunwich or Carcosa on hard.
Yeah.
You're at that level, so
Maybe a little bit of a tangent, but kind of going along those lines, I think one lesson that the cycles have taught me, and maybe it was the -5 in Forgotten Age, is paying attention to the bag composition. Like, that sounds obvious, but I feel like in the initial life of the game, it was just kind of instinctively, like, taking tests on the fly, and, the bags were about the same, between Zella and Dunwich and Carcosa. There are a few differences here and there, granted, but there was nothing as big as that -5 in the face, and I think some of the icons, the bad stuff token effects got worse and Forgotten Age, and so I think there's definitely a point I remember where before I didn't used to include this as part of my setup of every game, but now it's like part of setup of every game is grab that bad stuff token card, look at all the token effects and see what they do, and just have that memorized as I go into each scenario. And I think being very aware of bad composition is something that like I do now that I did not do at first.
And you think that's a result of just more experience, or that there are more player cards that make that matter?
Both. Yeah, both.
That's a fair answer.
I think with Circle Undone, that really hammered home the idea that not all player counts are equal in this game. Like we've seen it in previous scenarios, but never so much as in Secret Name specifically. Like solo can just straight up be not impossible, but pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And that's just a truth that me as a true solo player, I'm going to have to live with. And that's why now I play two-handed about as often as I play solo.
That's a big change for you.
It is, because I do love my solo games. But yeah, Secret Name, playing that scenario I think 4 times in a row, trying to just feel like I was making progress and never getting there. I was like, this is insane. And then we had our conversation about it afterwards, and I was like, yeah, I'm like, you guys are right. This is not a solo friendly scenario. Like it's the most anti-solo scenario you can get.
Yeah, like that and Oath are both pretty unforgiving.
Oh, like Unspeakable Oath?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I was thinking...
solo, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of the one with the Historical Society. I was like, that one's super easy in solo.
Yeah.
Echoes is great.
Echoes is insane.
Start with no cultists in play. There's no clock ticking.
Yeah, it's insane. No, but yeah, you're right. Unspeakable Oath was a slap in the face too, but Secret Name felt so much worse than Unspeakable Oath did, I think. I could be wrong. I'll have to go back and listen to that episode and see how I probably swore a lot, so...
Seems likely.
Yeah, I still play about even between pure solo and two-handed, but I definitely have felt the pull of two-handed more as the game has gone on. As far as what I have more fun with, I think.
I think multiplayer allows you more space to explore cool parts of the deck pool.
It does.
And
It does. That's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Yeah, exactly. It allows you more space for mobility, and I feel like maybe this is just a multiplayer game that you can play solo.
But it says 1 on the box. The box says 1.
I'm gonna just throw it out there that I think my multiplayer games have increased. And I think I'm at about 50-50 solo to multiplayer.
Nice.
I have played maximum 5 games two-handed. Games, not campaigns, like games. I love the puzzle of solo.
Oh, I do too.
It's fantastic.
And I mean, the other thing is if you have ample amounts of multiplayer in your life, then yeah, maybe that pull is not quite so strong.
Right, yeah.
I will say that
you're missing out on a lot of like straight up mechanics, cards that won't work.
Oh, there's half the investigator pools just turned off in solo.
Yeah.
Like their boxes are just grayed out. Like I just can't pick them.
Half the investigators are.
That's what I said.
That's the other thing too.
That's what I said.
I thought you said investigator cards.
They're investigator. Well, yeah, the investigators are cards.
I mean, there's investigators that I will just truly never play solo because
Right.
I'm just like this won't work.
Yeah.
It just won't, and that's fine to me.
But I will
those are
say
my
that I started playing more two-handed when my wife and I started playing less or
Mm-hmm.
fewer Arkham games. Like that was when my two-handed shot up. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you understand at a certain point that the engage action is really valuable sometimes, and that never ever comes up in solo except with aloof, which everyone does anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you guys feel like the story presentation has evolved over the course of the game, despite the fact that Matt just continues to make it more and more complicated for himself?
I feel like the narrative of each campaign is devouring the narrative of the campaigns prior to it, because like So Evan and I ran through The Gathering, and I could not believe that there was one paragraph of prologue text and one paragraph of intro text, and I was like, this is insane, we're already playing, like, I kind of missed this. But at the same time, like, Circle Undone, the story in that's so cool, and you couldn't do that without having such long narrative text. But then again, when I'm on a time crunch, I'm like, sweet, 6 lines of text, let's do it.
So I'm going to be the weird guy and just go out and say, well, maybe I'm not so weird. I think Carcosa is still my favorite story, just because the unreliable narrator bend on it. And I'm going to say something super controversial. Matt, I love you. I really do.
Wow, so controversial.
No, the Dream Eater story text, I'm almost feeling like that is it's tipping a little bit over how long I want to read.
See, I was that way with, like, Circle Undone was where not with, like, the pre and post, but more with, like, the interlude stuff or, like, the middle scenario stuff. I was like, oh, like, I'm playing, like, now I have to stop playing and read this mess. And then, of course, my scenario has the same thing. But anyway. But yeah. Like,
I think Dream Eaters is, like, that is the top length that I ever want to read.
I agree.
And I prefer... I really love Carcosa. Forgotten Age is absolutely great. Circle Undone, I'm like, okay, a little bit longer, but that's okay. Especially like the prologue stuff. I was like, wow, this is a lot of text for a scenario that I can't win.
Right. Especially if you're playing like 4-player with people who haven't played it before, and everyone gets their intro for the prologue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like you just send them an email, hey, read this before you show up at my house.
So Scott, I think you and I approach, and I'm pretty sure Ian is not this way, and Sean I think could go either way, but I think you and I approach the game the same way, where it's like we want to, like, we're playing a game. We're not reading a story, you know. Like when me, that's imposed by usually only having an hour to play or something like that. So I'm like, get me to the game, get me to the mechanics now. So
it's almost like you guys could use some kind of like video where someone else has bothered to read all the story text, so you guys don't have
But when the video's 43 minutes long, somebody's talking.
Yeah, like that's still
put on some tea.
Like I haven't fully edited it yet, but the Dream Eaters box might actually be that when it comes to video form.
I don't doubt it.
I feel like I recorded at least that much.
So one thing I'm going to say too is I don't want to discourage Matt from writing, because what happens is I just end up kind of not skimming, but I read quicker. Right? Sure. Like I don't like
speed read.
Dunwich and Carcosa I read like word by word, right? Like fully reading. And Dream Eaters and Circle Undone, I kind of got to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm looking for names, and I'm reading the sentences, but really quickly.
Yeah.
And but that's also for me, and I know there are players out there who the big draw to this is it's like it's an RPG, but you play with cards. And to me, it's a card game with some RPG stuff. Right? And I realize there's that balance that they've been trying to do, and from the beginning, Matt said that like that's what the game was, right? It's an RPG card game, and so.
But even in an RPG, there's not that much reading because it's all player to player. Oh, I'm thinking tabletop RPG, I should say. But
yeah, I guess it depends on the player, right? And so to me, I don't want to say Matt, you're like, or I don't want to say that this is a negative of the game. It's just for me as a player, I want a little less story text.
No, I agree.
I think you guys are right that I am not necessarily on the same exact page as you guys, because I think I like the reading and kind of RPG elements a bit more and integrate that a bit more. But at the same time, it's not like I'm totally on the extreme end, because obviously I treat it as a card game and all that. But I do like kind of how we're getting more and more intricate story text just from that perspective of like really enjoying the story and seeing what Matt does with it. But I think part of it too is because of my experience of the game. So much of it is solo. Like the way it usually works out is like get a new pack, read the story. Oh, this is cool. Take my time reading it. And then all the subsequent campaigns, you know, I'm usually running like 4 or 5. Like I'm not reading through that text again. Like I'm skipping to set up and doing it. It's basically the first time. And then usually what happens is after the campaign has been out, you know, maybe we're in like the middle of the cycle, then I say, It's been a while since I read that opening text. Let me read it again, because sometimes, like, there is always stuff that I missed the first time around, or it means something different now that we've gotten more story. So that's kind of how I approach it. So I think that's, for me, why I don't... It doesn't bother me that much, because if I was, like, say, playing a lot of multiplayer and interacting with new players and having to read it over and over again, then maybe it would bother me.
Right. And see, I'm almost the opposite, where the first couple times I play it, I skim the intro. I don't read the flavor text. I don't read the flavor text on the act and agenda.
Oh, wow.
I just set up and I'm like, all right, I'm just playing. Let's just do this. And then once I like learn the scenario, that's when the next, because usually that's my blind campaign, and honestly I have like 3 blind campaigns. Like I start a blind one and then it dies, so then I play another one, I start another one, and it makes it like a scenario further, and then it dies. So it's once I've like made it over halfway through the campaign as a whole, quote unquote blindly, that's when I start going, okay, now that I have an understanding what this campaign is trying to do mechanically, now that I've spent my game time learning the mechanics, which to me is the important part, the most important part, now I will devote my time to the story, because I don't have to devote that same time to learning mechanics. You know what I mean? Like, I have like a budget of time,
Sure.
and I can focus on mechanics or I can focus on story, but I can't focus on both. And because I see this as a mechanical puzzle, like what Scott said, that's what I focus on my first time through. So
you were really like thinking they just took this trip to the hospital to visit friends?
I mean, I read the text in the book.
Sure.
But like when I set up the act and agenda, I'm like, meh, like no, I don't need to read that right now. I'll read that next time. Because honestly, and I did this with Dream Eaters, not with the hospital one, but with the stairs one. I can't remember the names of it. With that one, I played it 3 times in a row, like boom, boom, boom. And so for that one, like I think on my 3rd time, that's when I read the actual like act and agenda text. Or no, that one I read right away because I was really intrigued by that start. I don't know. I don't have a system, guys. I just do whatever the fuck I feel like.
Sure.
God, that was a wild ride.
I know.
I think also too, though, like so much of I am kind of like a story player, but I'm also like, I love card games and card game mechanics. So I think a lot of the story elements for me is not just the capital S story, the story text, but also what's coming up in the game itself, and like all the location effects and location flavor text, those kind of things are help to bring out the story, and it's not just about like what's in those campaign text portions.
So to go off of what was said in chat, someone said, so Nick has never been hunted. And I said, I have. My very first time through TCU, I was hunted, and I got so excited, and then I realized, honestly, it took me a few like extra scenarios before I realized that there's that big thing in the back of the book that you have to read when you're hunted. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, I hope it does more than that. Because I was like, I don't want to read a whole nother block of text just because of that. I want it to do a game thing. And then it didn't do a game thing, and I was like, oh, I'm sad.
But it was an experience.
Sure. Just not.
I mean, I think I'm in roughly the same spot as Ian, and I'm somewhere between Ian and Scott. I very thirstily read everything the first time I encounter it, because seeing all the different things and catching the details is fun. And then, ooh man, I tend to go long time without fully reading story text. But then when it's sat for a while and I kind of forgot, and I've played through the campaign a few times, and hey, I'd catch things now that I didn't see before when only Mythos Pack 2 was out. I step myself up in the reading category.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think from the comparison perspective, one of the things that I appreciate is not only the mechanics are different between cycles, but I feel like the narrative style is a bit different. Like, you could be forgiven for thinking the Carcosa cycle was maybe text was maybe written by a different person than, say,
Sure.
the Dream Eaters or Circle and Done text. I feel like Matt tries to do something a little bit different narratively with each cycle. Not just in the story, but how the story is told.
Yeah, the presentation is definitely varied, for sure. Okay. So let's kind of talk to the card pool a little bit. I know we've kind of touched on it a tad. I really want to see. I feel like all of us play Taboo, right?
Yeah.
I usually do.
Sure.
Unless I'm
okay.
playing expert, yes.
Limited exceptions, definitely accepted. But
I've also.
I was just going to say, I love the way that balance has gone. I feel like the community has taken to it really well. It makes me sad that a similar thing never happened for Lord of the Rings because it needed it even more than Arkham did. But I think it's a really cool way to guide the player card pool because I just don't think... I've played so many card games, guys, and I know you have too. And I'm led to believe that if you're going to have fun as a designer and develop cards and explore cool space, there is no way to avoid the occasional card that just blows things out of the water.
You have to risk breaking things.
Right. There's just no way to avoid the occasional drawing thin, where it's like, oh shit, well I guess that was really powerful, wasn't it? And that's fine. As a player, we all have the choice to play or not play those cards if they make the game actively not fun. But there's something about an official comment from the designers in a way that, I would be led to believe that Taboo is being used for playtesting in some capacity. There's just something about having that actually be official that gives, I think, a little bit more permission for even the power gamers to be like, you know what? I don't have to run Machete anymore.
Yes.
It's fine.
Cuddly Zombie in the chat says it grants legitimacy. And I think that's a huge thing, right? Like, it's an official house rule, essentially.
Yeah.
It's not even a house rule because it's from the designer. I think that pretty much what you said, Sean. Like, I love Taboo because it allows it to change and ebb and flow, right? Like, if the difficulty does creep up slightly, maybe the Taboo list gets a little bit easier on us. And the thing I love about the Taboo is it's optional. And you can even have players, like, in a 4-player game, or, like we did at Arkham Knights, Nick, you played Taboo, the rest of us didn't. And that's okay, right? Like, it's customizable to the player, what they want to do. Going to Arkham Knights, I was like, I'm only going to bring Taboo decks except for one deck, because I figure that most people there are hardcore players of the game, and if we just all bring broken decks, is it as fun? I mean, it depends on what you want out of the game, right? Like, I'm not a player who plays Dark Souls, Sekiro, all those things, right? Like, where part of the fun is in losing a lot. But in Arkham,
That's not
Nick,
what those are
I
about.
breathed in to retort the exact same time.
Sorry.
But no, Scott, I completely understand. I thought that from the outside as well. But I completely understand what you're saying.
right. And I haven't played those games, and I understand that I'm not probably representing them properly. But I just look at that difficulty, and I'm like, no thanks.
My problem with Taboo, and this is just how I function as a gamer, i.e. barely, but my problem with Taboo is that I forget what's on the Taboo list. So when I'm building a deck, I'm like, I'll make it Taboo. So this literally happened for Iron Man. I was like, yeah, I'm playing Taboo. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, after about 6 scenarios, I'm like, Elusive is in here as a level 0. I didn't spend any experience on it. Oh, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
So my Taboo list is only what I can remember, which is about 6 cards.
Yeah. I mean, Lupara is not Taboo, and you still try to put in Leo. So.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I don't fully... One of the things I wish we had for the Taboo list, and this is too much work, I think, to put on Matt, and I'm never going to ask for this, but is different Taboo lists for solo versus 4-player versus...
Boo, that's too much. I wouldn't remember any of that.
And that's the thing. And honestly, I think it'd be mostly about the same, but there's a few things like Double or Nothing,
Sure.
which is broken at 4-player. Let's all be honest. I understand that. But it's solo, like, as a primary solo player, I'm like, why is this bad?
But see, that's when you got to remind yourself that you are playing in a corner of the game that doesn't get as much attention.
Yep. But when the Taboo says you must follow all of it or none of it...
Well, I just
Right.
ignore that.
And that's
because I forget all of it.
That's kind of what I've come down to with
Yeah.
solo slightly. I'm just like, I understand why this card is tabooed in multiplayer, but in solo, it's just like, this is not broken at all. In fact, it's like par for the course.
I kind of feel like the all or none clause is kind of superfluous because you already have the power to choose whether or not to play with those. So why force people to do all or none? Like, why people are going to choose to employ it when they want to and not to employ it when they don't want to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like the biggest thing about taboo, and just I think maybe returning to kind of a more general statement, but kind of getting to what you were talking about, Scott, I feel like the biggest thing about taboo is it gives us a central conversation. I feel like in something like Lord of the Rings, where there were many people who were like, hey, here's how I fix Steward of Gondor.
Yeah.
And here's where I would run Test of Will, and here's how I'd fix that. And it's just like, yeah, the conversation happens, and there are good ideas out there, but it never sticks because there's no central idea to it all for the community to adapt. So I think the reason that maybe they can't account for the different player counts is because that would fragment it maybe a little bit too far.
4 players can show at the same table and have 4 different house rules, whereas in Arkham, you show up at 4 player, like, taboo, yay, taboo, nay, like, who's doing what? And some players are like, I'm doing taboo, I don't care what you guys do. And there's some people who are like, I'd prefer if you play taboo, and that's fine. And I think taboo has its place in. I honestly, if you are listening to this podcast and you're someone who knows what the taboo list is,
you probably should use it.
You should probably be playing taboo, honestly.
At least considering it.
Yeah, and there's other things, like I know, like this year, except for Nick, we didn't play taboo for Iron Man. But to me, Iron Man is a separate thing. Like, the difficulty is not the difficulty of the game; it's the difficulty of the time crunch. And so taboo doesn't affect that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just how fast can you do things. So,
well, unless you're playing Rex, then taboo legit straight up affects that.
But I don't know if Rex is I don't in TFA at least. I think I would have still chosen Mandy over. Well, I did. I chose Mandy over non-taboo Rex. Or sorry. Yeah,
I'm not. No, I'm just saying. Like, there are exceptions. I am going to posit, and we don't have to tackle this right now because it's a different discussion, but I'm going to posit that we do taboo for next year's Iron Man.
I mean, I did taboo this year, so that's fine.
Oh, so there was another taboo player at the table.
Oh, you did taboo?
I had. I played Diana. What am I gonna include?
Machete.
I left out Machete.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So you tabooed because you just didn't include taboo cards.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, Mystic cards are self-balancing. It's fine.
I had drawing thin, which was my my violation. But I think I only used that in the first 2 scenarios because I replaced it and it never came up really after that.
But I just think that we should. I think that'd be an interesting way to go about it.
I'm just going to throw that out there. I will consider it, but I'm not promising anything.
We'll talk.
Because again, I don't think like the Iron Man quote unquote issue is time management. Right. And I don't think taboo affects that to me.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Well, one of the nice things compared to, say, Lord of the Rings or other games that the taboo list can draw on is the kind of XP costs that are obviously not available to other games, because that gives us the framework to be like, because in other games it's like, oh, this card is broken, my option is I just won't play it and I'll play other cards. But it's nice to get more use out of our cards by saying, oh, I can still play it with this restriction on it. But I feel a little bit torn on taboo. Like, overall, I like it, and the best part of it for me was actually Streetwise Higher Ed, because there was a good stretch of the game where I admittedly leaned way too hard on those cards. Like, especially being a rogue player, Streetwise was just like, okay, pay into Streetwise, and I can beat pretty much any scenario. And I feel like my decks have gotten better and more interesting since Taboo came out, and I pretty much haven't really used Streetwise since, actually. And then on the other hand, I feel like there's some other cards where, and part of this is my fault, that I remember they're on the taboo list, so I don't include them at level 0, like Elusive is an example, Double or Nothing. But then when I'm upgrading, I kind of forget they're there. And so what has ended up happening is that I have not used cards like Elusive at all anymore, and that kind of makes me sad because I do like those cards, but because they've been tabooed beyond what you can kind of afford at level 0, then I just am not using those cards.
I think
sorry, go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say really quick, I think that the taboo list is the best way to implement this sort of thing into this game.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I think Ian, you hit this on the head. Like, the fact that we have XP levels, like, I don't know if a taboo list would work in Lord of the Rings as well as it does.
Not at this
Arkham.
Point.
Right? It would just be errata. It's like, here's your
errata.
Optional errata. Mm-hmm. And Sean, I remember that game we played at Worlds that one year where I brought that dwarf deck, and it was 4 of us. It was like a 4.5-hour game, and like 3 of the cards were errataed, but I wasn't using them in the broken fashion that made the errata occur.
Yes.
And so I'm kind of torn on that. Like, so I make these decks where I only have 1 card that would be considered, or 1 card that's on the taboo list, and I'm like, but I'm not trying to break that card. Like, I'm using it in a very fair way.
I'm playing it as fucking intended, you munchkins.
Yeah. I'm not making some jokey deck, and that's where I kind of struggle sometimes with taboo. Like, I had a Preston deck that was taboo compliant until this most recent one, and I'm like, but I'm not breaking, like, Drawing Thin, it's a great card, but I wasn't breaking it like people do with track shoes. Yeah. Couple things in chat I just want to throw out there. Cuddly Zombie, pressuring people to taboo is against the spirit of taboo, in his opinion. Absolutely agree. I think the people who are like, I'm not going to play with you unless you're playing taboo, I don't... Okay.
Well, anybody who talks like that should be playing true solo anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't mind... one person we know well, Brandon, who does Optimal Play, he's like, if you play with me... He's like the Dos Equis guys. Or Dos Equis guy, where he's like, I don't always play multiplayer, but when I do, I prefer to play taboo. And he's like, if you play with me, I'd like you to play taboo, if you could. And so I respect that, right? Like, and ultimately, he's not going to say, like, go to another table.
he would
deck.
still rather play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he's like, could you play taboo if you have a taboo compliant deck? That'd be great. Yeah. And then Alduck, the role of taboo is not to make the game more difficult, it's to make it more fun. And I completely agree with that because it forces different decisions in deck making, especially with that Preston deck I made. No Test Preston, where I'm just like, I'm not going to take tests. I'm just going to use money to solve all my problems. And I made it taboo compliant. I don't think I would have made that deck without the taboo list. So
yeah, and it's about... To me, the taboo at its best, it's making the game more fun for me because it's encouraging me to use cards that I might not otherwise, or build my deck differently. Like, ultimately, now that I can look at it objectively, like, I don't think, like, just leaning on Streetwise all day is that fun, objectively. Like, it's a card that starts in play, and as rogues, especially now, like, all the rogue decks I build, like, the amount of resource generation is just crazy. Like, if I just had untabooed Streetwise, like, why even have the rest of my deck? Like, I could just pump into Streetwise all day, and that's it. And that's not why I'm playing Arkham. I'm playing Arkham so I could include some interesting cards in my deck and build a board that can do stuff. And with unrestricted Streetwise, like, it's not... I mean... It's not really, like, really leveraging this game to its fullest, I feel like.
Yeah.
I will say that Taboo has effectively killed Machete for me.
Yeah.
Because when I build decks, I'm like, oh, that's right, this isn't level 0 anymore. So I just, or a cost experience, so I just skip over it. And then when I'm leveling up my decks, I grab my leveled up cards. I don't grab my level 0s. But because Machete doesn't have the pips, it isn't with the leveled up cards. So, so I just forget it exists.
Elusive for me, yeah.
Yeah.
I still look at Elusive, but Sean, I think you said it the best with Enchanted Blade. Like, now that Enchanted Blade is out, I don't really look at Machete that much. Like, if I'm willing to spend that XP, yeah.
I just, and that's fine. Like, I played enough Machete in the early part of this game's life that I never, ever need to play it again. And if I really feel like, you know what, I really want to play Machete, I'll just ignore Taboo. It's cool.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is, I talked about like having separate taboo lists. Like Double or Nothing in solo is like not. It's good, but it's not broken.
Much more
It's very niche. Yeah,
deliberate
right.
play.
In multiplayer, like Double or Nothing can get obscene. Machete in solo is obscenely good.
Oh yeah,
if you're playing solo guardian or
it's
solo
the weapon.
that can take
anyone
machete.
that can take it. Yeah.
Yeah, like you hard mulligan for Machete because then you're set, right? Like, oh, my 45s, I'll commit those for my evasion or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But in multiplayer, if you're the killer, right? Like you're just like, I'm going to be engaged with like 3 things. So I don't know. I think there's a balance there, and yeah, but I don't want to put so much pressure. Like having 4 separate taboo lists would just be stupid. So I'm not expecting it, but I do slightly adjust taboo for true solo for myself.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway is that it's optional. It gives everyone a starting point, and you can kind of tweak the knobs and levers as needed. And that is just a really, really cool way to balance a co-op game. And I think ultimately I'm just going to say Taboo great. I'm really glad that it's made the impact that it seems to have made. Maybe I'm just in a corner of the community where people are more accepting of it. I'm not on the Facebook anymore. People like Taboo on the Facebook, right?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Most of the I honestly.
Do people like anything on the Facebook nowadays? Okay, that's about how I left it.
Let's
then.
not bash Facebook people too much.
They click.
Come on.
Usually they click like and then they just bitch about it in the comments after clicking like.
Fair enough.
This is an observation of Facebook as a whole, not necessarily the Arkham page.
Disclaimer.
All right. So, what would you guys like to see in the game going forward, given where
vehicles?
Yes.
4 separate taboo lists.
Vehicles, motorcycle, car, hot air balloon. I don't care. Give me a vehicle.
Yeah.
Big damage mystic
Hot
event.
air balloon.
It's a big, well, not necessarily big damage, just a damage, like a 2 damage mystic event. Like someone said
Storm
it.
of Spirits?
No, but like not. You know what? Yes.
Like that thing that already exists.
Print more Storm of Spirits.
You know what? I would like a... Well, one, I agree with you kind of, Nick. Like, we need a... we have Storm of Spirits, but we also need...
Single target.
A single target. We just need more, like, mystic events that do damage.
Yeah.
Period.
Because here's
You know
the
what I
thing.
mean?
If I use Storm of Spirits on one enemy, I feel like I'm wasting it. Right?
Depends on what your other options were.
Nothing, because it's the only event that does damage.
The secret card that's escaping my mind right now, where you test intellect and you draw cards by how much you succeed.
Does that feed the mind?
Feed the mind,
I
yeah.
think feed the mind, yeah. I feel like we need something like that. It's a little bit harder to pass, but for Mystic, where it's willpower, single event, and you can you could do 8 damage with it if you're testing at 14. But a single event where it's like single target, test 3 willpower, do damage equal to
it should be
how much you succeed by.
just will versus fight, and they get a bonus equal to the horror that they deal, or something like that.
Something like that. Like, it's just a single target. Yeah.
The sky is the limit. I personally, I liked Tarot as it was in TCU. The tarot we got were all either... Well, I mean, the stat boosting ones are all pretty basic. Your mileage may vary. Ace of Rods is just terrible. I wouldn't mind seeing a few more tarot cards to kind of eat up that tarot slot and like make Anna Caslow like a straight-up deck type.
Yeah, I want them to be more interesting than just +1 to something.
Yeah. Well, the Survivor one is +1/+1.
Right. Yeah. The Survivor one's a but I mean, like, I don't even use them. Like, because I look at them and I'm like, meh. Yeah. Like, they're not flashy. They're not fun.
Oh,
I'd
man,
love some taboo cards.
Aldex says in the chat here, upgraded versions of signature cards could be really cool, but I think we're missed the boat on that one. Like, just
that is what the novellas should have been for.
Ooh, you're so yeah.
Compared to Jenny's alternates.
I'm still waiting to see what we get for Norman's real ones because his.
Watch them be the same.
Just slightly different art. Going back to the tarot for a second. Yeah, because the tarots can be interesting in the right build. Like you can make a tarot build, but just because of what tarots are, they feel like they should be a little bit more mechanically interesting.
They feel like they should have a choice involved with them.
It should be like something determining your fate, kind of, for that scenario. A little bit of a double-edged sword, but
I think tarot could be a really cool mechanic with a couple more additions that are all about like cycling it in and out. Because in tarot, you're drawing multiple cards and interpreting them, and different fates befall you. So, like, the idea that you're going to draw a new tarot card, and, like, each tarot card has a really cool, like, enters play effect. So you're just encouraged to constantly keep playing new tarot down and turning over more cards and unearthing more fate.
That'd be really fun if tarot was just, like, a bounce deck.
Right?
Like, that'd be awesome.
Well, then you're like Gambit Investigator.
I'd like if they came out with tarot cards for like each class, maybe some more neutrals, that acted like Ace of Rods, where it's like you sacrifice it to do something.
Like the Guardian one fights, or the... But then it has some sort of extra effect to it.
Yeah, like you put it down, and then you save it there until you need to do something.
Right, give it a choice.
Maybe
banking.
Maybe it's fast, maybe it's an action. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to...
But it could even... I was going to say, like, even a Seeker one could be, like, discard this, draw 2 cards.
I mean, that's kind of boring.
Like, it is, but...
Yeah, that's...
But he came up with it in all of 5 seconds.
There's no choice there. All right, anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to see is... and maybe I'm kind of influenced a little bit by recent, like... in Lord of the Rings, like side quest and guarded cards, which are stuff that goes on in counter cards and that you kind of earn. Like, I'd like to see that a little bit in Arkham, like stuff that you can, like, you know, little treasure troves you can sprinkle out among the map that you have to earn, like little because we have task signature weaknesses, like searching for Izzy is a task, I think, and what's the other one? Is cover up a task?
Cover up is a task.
Yeah.
Cover up.
But having
is it a task?
Angered Spirits is a task.
Having a player card, you know, task, like things that you have to complete in order to earn cool rewards within a scenario would be fun.
But then I probably wouldn't play them because they'd probably just work out like the Seeker side quest stuff.
But maybe it could be something like, goodness, like so a Guardian one would be, put this. Oh goodness, no! Now I've totally
discard draw 2.
Deal 3 damage to an enemy anywhere. Like,
and when you do that, draw 3 cards and heal a horror.
Yeah, it could be a reward within the scenario. Yeah, not necessarily like here's an XP
it could add I agree with you guys. I think it could add a really cool dimension to those type of cards if it had a more immediate blasty effect. You know, splashy is probably the better word for that.
Like
I don't know why I
a
went
side
blasty.
quest that resolves within the scenario, and you can just play it scenario to scenario. Yeah, something like that
with decent icons. Because occasionally it's not going to be a good thing.
Yeah, so it'd be a cheap card because the cost is fulfilling whatever you have to do. But
yeah, sure. I mean, like Hawkeye folding camera, Cuddly Zombie points out. That's kind of there. I think I think what we're describing is maybe looking for more complicated effects than just a static stat boost, but that kind of thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
along those lines.
Yeah. I'm thinking something like snare trap or lure, where you play it on a location, and the card defines what location you can play it at. Like it must be at least 2 away or something like that. Yeah. I don't know.
Do you guys think? Okay, so this is pulling like from a really weird corner, but follow me here.
Okay.
So Lord of the Rings, I mean, it's not a weird corner. I've talked about it 3 times.
Drink.
Lord of the Rings has side quests where you actually, there is a player card that you put into play, and the analogy in mechanical terms would be you spend clues on it instead of the normal act. and get some cool effect for doing so. And I think like mechanically what it would have to do is it would have to probably add clues to the board as it comes into play so that it doesn't mess up the clue math. Sometimes that gets tight.
That would be straight up unplayable in a good number of scenarios.
Yeah, as were side quests in Lord of the Rings, for sure.
So, no. True. I would say no. I would say yes only if they came out in a cycle that actively punished you for doing them.
That's what happened in Lord of the Rings.
I know.
Anyway, thought that could be fun.
I think there's space to be explored there for sure.
Yeah, if it was like an event that came into play, you put it in your...
I mean, that's ultimately, like, now I sit here thinking
and it has
about
clues
it from a
on
design
it.
perspective. That's, like, no difference from the stuff we were talking about earlier where it's, like, the side quest stuff that has an effect within... Yeah, so that's just that same idea in different words.
What if it played over the current act deck? And, like, you put it on top of the act, and then you're like, now we have to do this. What if that was a weakness? Holy shit! What if that was a weakness?
Ooh.
Oh, man.
And then you had the player card version that went over the agenda.
Give me my grief deck now.
Griefina.
You know what I've wanted for a while that I've kind of been waiting on? An ally that goes off by itself and kills enemies. Like an ally that actually hits the board and will move around and like hunt enemies as they're
So you want to play a MOBA?
Ooh.
Yeah, sure. I've been waiting for something like that, and I don't know.
Would it take up your ally slot?
Yes.
Heat-seeking missile, 70
It
years
would?
old.
I think it would have to.
Well, but it's not with you.
But well, okay. But in spirit.
There's no spirit slot. I think that's interesting. I think that is interesting. And because I like big maps and dynamic scenarios, I think that'd be really fun to play with. I think that would be more of a scenario-specific thing, though.
Probably.
I think we need a chainsaw.
Yes.
Big survivor chainsaw.
Didn't we have a conversation at some point whether that was timeline appropriate?
It is. They exist.
They existed, but they were like... If you had a saw that was attached to a generator, you know, like it's not like a chainsaw like we think now.
There's
was like,
already Arkham Files art of someone using a handheld chainsaw.
yeah, which I'm totally fine with. Like,
just blur the lines.
Time appropriateness, whatever.
Yeah. It's a little anachronistic, but that's fine. Like, who cares?
We have a lightning gun. Who cares?
I honestly don't know.
I don't know if you guys
even
have
asked the
noticed,
question.
but we're...
I'm totally fine with anachronistic things.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we're fighting like giant, great old gods that don't exist. So
how do you know they don't exist?
because I beat them in a card game.
You're very sure about what is and isn't real, Scott.
Yeah, I am.
Conviction at full.
Conviction 12, doubt 0. Wait, what do you get for burning down the house? Because I always burn down the house.
Conviction.
Like 10 conviction, or not 10.
It's 1 conviction? Yeah, okay. I was making sure it wasn't doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's grab the reins on this one again.
Where are they? I think the horse has left.
I think we're at patron questions now.
Everybody. Yeah, so I think that's a decent wrap up on State of the Game. Generally good, I feel, were most of the comments.
Yeah. I'm happy with the state of the game.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, so let's move on to let's knock out like 2 or 3 extra patron questions here, and then we can continue to work through the list.
Lightning round.
So
I like Ian's question. This one's good.
Yes, and I have no freaking clue what I'm going to say. So
oh my gosh, so
I do.
broad.
First.
Pinochle.
So,
I don't know.
Ian asks again, what is your favorite non-cooperative, non-card board game?
So he's talking like Monopoly type stuff.
That just, like, non-cooperative and non-card, like, wipes out, like, 90% of my collection.
Yeah.
So, mine used to be Galaxy Trucker, and it was for, like, 12 years.
That's a good game.
Because every single time I played Galaxy Trucker, no matter how well or how poor I did, I had fun the entire time. But now it's Star Wars Rebellion.
Okay.
With the expansion. The expansion makes it better. Like Star Wars Rebellion.
Doesn't that have a ton of cards, though?
It's not
has
a card
cards in
game,
it.
though.
It's not a card game, though.
Okay.
He's saying, I think he means, like, not a card. Like, if you a game without cards, then holy shit. Like, well, that's maybe 3 on my
That's
shelf.
not a world I want to live in.
Like, I can't name Catan,
Right.
So
Why would you, though?
it's as much a miniature game as, like, Warhammer 40k. You know what I mean? Like, there's miniatures in it, so it's not a... Yeah. Anyways. Star Wars Rebellion. It is the one Star Wars board game I have ever played where I feel like I am in Star Wars and I am the faction I am playing. It's 1v1. There is 2v2 player rules, but just forget those, pretend they don't exist, and just play 1v1 rules with 2 people on either side of the table. And you're just talking over your strategies. That's the best way to play.
Sure.
I was going to say XCOM, but that's cooperative. Then I was going to say Street Masters, but that's cooperative. Then I was going to say Dark Souls, but that's cooperative. So I think I landed on StarCraft.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I like StarCraft a lot. I do like The Thing a lot as well. And both of those are designed really well in most of their aspects, but then have a couple of flaws. I think The Thing is, well, I know The Thing is a tighter experience. It's more of a solid, like, it's easier to grab a hold of and play, whereas StarCraft is much more of a beast that you have to kind of, like, wrangle it the first 3 rounds of play, and if you're playing against someone who knows what they're doing, then you lose, then you're just behind. But I love them both, and that's likely very much so inspired by the fact that the source material is some of my favorite in their respective mediums. StarCraft's one of my favorite PC games of all time, and The Thing is one of my favorite movies of all time. So,
They're just generally good licensed games, I would say.
This is tough
Go
for
ahead,
me.
Ian.
This is tough for me. I'm not gonna put a quote unquote favorite label on it, but it's a newer game and it's a competitive game that caught my eye right away, which is rare, and that's Unmatched. So
yes,
it just hits so many buttons for me, like mashing
So good.
random characters together. The games are relatively quick. It feels like it's pretty well balanced. So yeah, Unmatched is a really good competitive game.
So I guess my answer is going to reveal exactly how much of my overall gaming is comprised of cooperative and card games.
chess.
I'm actually going to go with Decrypto. Because
I would call that cooperative.
but you're playing, it's adversarial. You're just playing on
Team
teams.
cooperative. I mean, team competitive.
Okay, so
God, well, if I can't count Decrypto,
true to type, Sean gave a half answer.
I'm really, really going to have to think. Anyway,
Star Wars CCG.
the card game.
Oh, damn it! That's right.
That's the hard part.
That's why I was so bad at it.
Yeah, like there's a reason that's really hard. Yeah, anyway, I don't know. I really like Decrypto. I think
Yeah.
it takes the whole like Codenames word game play and adds a cool layer of puzzle onto it. And I'm never sad when anyone wants to play it. So okay. Moving on from there, Jesse asks, if one of the currently released announced Arkham investigators was your closest friend, who would it be and why? And dare I ask, who would be the last investigator you'd be friends with and why?
Oh, wow.
God.
Skids.
There's too many. I don't know who I would. Probably Lola because she's an actress. But then again, if she's the kind of actress who's like really full of herself, I would hate it.
Yeah, Lola's so extra. Like, just, oh my god.
I'd say realistically, it'd probably be one of the nerdy characters, like Mandy or Daisy. Like one of the book readers would probably be my close friend. Maybe Rex. I have a kinship with Hard Luck Cases, so maybe Rex.
Don't ask me why, but I think Jim and I would jive pretty well. I love a good musician. So maybe Patrice. Yeah,
Marie?
I don't know.
But she's a
yeah.
vocalist, though. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
and her,
see,
you'd butt heads.
Oh no, you know what? I would love to sing a duet with Marie. That would make my day. Yeah, so any of the musicians.
I just picture you
feel
two
like I'd get on
fighting
with.
for like the lead.
Well, yeah.
Oh wait, that's me and Lola.
That's any two performers sharing a stage, I think.
I think you guys are all wrong because you should choose Preston.
See, I,
'Cause he's rich.
I was
Most
going to say
money.
Preston
Like,
would be
you
the
just-
last investigator I would be friends with. Probably.
Probably.
I don't
yeah.
have many millionaire friends.
Yeah.
I think, I think Zoe would be really intense to be around.
Yeah.
I love her as a character. Don't think I could hang out with her.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
I think the closest one I think that would be a friend, oddly enough, is Father Mateo, because of my
it's too preachy.
studying. Well, I studied theology in university, and I enjoy deep philosophical and theological discussions. And
So
I
then
think
Luke's your man.
maybe Luke. I think I'd be friends with a mystic. I mean,
He has all the invites to the key parties. So definitely stay on
well, then
Luke's
I'm in,
good side.
I think
Hop
Father
into my
Mateo or
gate box together.
maybe Luke. Yeah.
My open gate is ready.
What about allies?
Oh shit.
Ooh, allies. Oh boy.
I feel like Renfield would be the biggest fucking bummer in the world.
Probably. I want to say Olive, but I'd probably be more of a beat cop.
Agency backup because I don't want to die.
It's cheating, but Duke. Could always use a good Duke.
Oh, boo.
Stray cat. I'd probably be friends with a
Stray cat.
Miss Doyle.
All right, I'll cut that one off. All right, so last one will take us from Etienne. Hey,
Hi,
Etienne.
Etienne.
Little
Oh,
known-
this is the actual Etienne?
yeah.
No, this is Dreamland's Etienne.
No, this is
no, but
my
from,
home
like-
slice of Canadian bacon.
COTR Etienne.
COTR
Bonjour
Etienne.
Etienne. Comment ça va?
Little known fact: Etienne and I are in the rules reference for Arkham Horror the card game. So yeah, that's
You
and
are.
We're in the same example.
I believe I sent that to you
Yeah,
like 2 weeks ago.
yeah, that's true. I was sad that you hadn't known about it beforehand because I was awful proud.
I never
when it
read
came
the
out.
examples because I get the rules the first time.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
There it is. Anyway, so Etienne asks, our 4-player Arkham group is at Heart of the Elders. Yes, we're currently a year behind. With a deck from every faction except Survivor. So they're running Mark, Skids, Agnes, and Joe. We're all using my one collection with 2 core sets. Another friend is moving to town, and I want to deal him in with a Survivor deck. That would mean playing with 5 players, following the setup for 4 players, drawing once from the encounter deck every turn for each player, and improvising scaling rules where necessary. Have you heard of anyone in the community having had any success with adapting 5 players? Any scenarios come to mind that would be problematic? We expect longer playtime, and we're okay with that. So he's been looking at some stuff on BGG. This is something I actually have not paid a whole lot of attention to. There's a few specific places where I think the scaling's going to get wonky.
yeah. I've seen this on the Facebook group and the Reddit.
And BGG, I've seen posts on it there too.
yeah, I think
I think you'll die
I
faster on Essex.
you will. Like Essex is going to be terrible. But you're on Heart of the Elders. I think Boundary Beyond is going to be
They're past that.
Oh, right. If they've
City
done
of
this-
Archives is going to be rough.
Yes.
City's just going to be
City-
straight up rough. Like, there's a very good chance they're going to face plant.
I think City of Archives, they need to take the strategy which we were considering going into it, that some people might just need to die, and then other people need to succeed, because the people who, if you get knocked out in that scenario, if the other people succeed, you still follow that succeeding.
Right.
So But Explore is probably much easier at 5-player. Right? Like if you played 8-player, Explore is a joke. So the more you go up in players, Explore gets easier.
So, but here's the thing. Like let's get away, at least currently, from scenario by scenario, and let's look at just Arkham as a whole. Everything's gonna get. The board is going to get more crowded overall. You're going to have more enemies, you're going to have more treacheries in play, stuff like that. So any scenario that already feels crowded is going to be pushed more so. And not only that, like, I know that the threshold scaling is a thing, but also, like, if you're already running Guardian, Mystic, Rogue, Seeker, and you throw a Survivor in, and suddenly your boss goes from 25 to whatever, like 20 to 25 health or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sure, it scales per player, but I think it's not. I think it breaks down once you go above 4. I would argue that some scenarios break down once you go above 3, just because of how crowded that board gets and some of those thresholds that you have to meet. I wouldn't suggest that you don't do it with, like, Carnival, or with, what's the Abyss, the Knights Usurper, Guardians of the Abyss, whatever those things are called.
Guardians of the Abyss is correct.
Yeah. Like, it's, like, why not just play 2 groups at 2 and 3?
Well, I think the idea is that they have a campaign ongoing and someone wants to join in. I think it also depends on which Survivor, because first of all, the reason I love Survivor class is because every single investigator from that class is so completely different, right? Like, you have Mystics, let's all do willpower, except for, one, and you have Guardians, let's kill things, except for Carolyn. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, Seekers get clues, etc.
Right.
But if you're dealing in a Survivor, I think I need more details. Which Survivor? Because it's so different.
I think it's more dependent on the scenario than it is on the investigator, personally.
I think it is equally dependent.
Okay.
Personally, yeah.
Disagreement resolved.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's okay at 5 players. Like, 5 is okay. 8 would be stupid.
That's a big jump, though. Like, you skip 6 and 7.
but I'm saying, like,
7, 8,
like,
9.
Yeah. But, like, 6 is now like, okay, guys, like, just split into 3.
Right.
But 4 to 5, because that's the most common question I see is 4 to 5. It's not 6 players, because most people then say 3 and 3, right? It's 4 to 5.
And there's 5 classes, and people kind of...
Yeah, I think 5 is okay. You might need to house rule a couple scenarios slightly so they don't literally fall apart.
Yeah, and
Essex is going to fall apart, so deal with it.
I feel like I don't have a good handle to speak on how this would play 5-player, and so I guess my advice would be, if you're kind of running through this campaign and you're tied to it, maybe not try 5-player first with a campaign, maybe try 5-player with a standalone. Whether it's one of the standalones or like a standalone scenario in a cycle. Just try it out, just have that person over, say we're going to try out this 5-player Arkham and see how it goes from there. And then kind of the group can decide whether to carry that into the campaign or split into 2 groups.
I think
standalone Midnight Masks. Sorry.
I think the real answer is that you just keep a tally of how many clues that Survivor gets and how much damage they do to enemies, and if they don't meet the quota by the end of the scenario, then you cut them. 4 players.
One player.
And then that Seeker's over there like, I got my 1/5 of clues.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
It's like Nick with Lola in Dunwich.
Aw.
I did my 25%.
No, he did actually make that argument at one point, though, didn't he?
I did.
Multiple times. That being said...
I don't know multiple times.
That being said, he did do his 25%.
I did.
So we can't blame him. Yeah.
All right, excellent. Well, we'll finish up the other patron questions on the next episode, but for now, let's move it on into a little bit of technical time. Ian, what is grabbing ye of late?
Well, writing and writing some more, and then writing more after that.
Props on your focus.
Last time around, we talked about, me and Nick rather talked about participating in National Novel Writing Month. And yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in that. I'm up to 23,000 words or so. And my original goal was 30,000, so I'm almost there. And I think I'm going to exceed that and see how it goes. But yeah, that's taken up my grand chunk of my free time. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything new. I think the only new thing in kind of my circle of entertainment is watching The Mandalorian. Episode 1, at least. I have to watch episode 2, which dropped today.
Oh my god, yes.
I don't think you should use those terms in the Star Wars context. Those mean things.
What should he call it?
Like first episode, second episode?
Oh,
so just turn the words around.
Like, I don't know if that did it to anyone else, but like that in the Star Wars context, hearing that turned my brain, and I had to like turn it back to understand what you meant.
Disney Plus has actually said it's chapter 1 through 8.
Chapters.
Oh,
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Chapters. Yeah, I won't say...
Dave, I know at least one person out there listening had the same reaction.
But none of the hosts.
That's okay. It's okay. It's fine. No one's perfect.
So I won't say too much about it because it's relatively new out, so I won't spoiler anything. But I guess all I'll say is it's kind of nice seeing people excited about Star Wars again. I can't remember the last time that's actually happened because I feel like every single...
Force Awakens.
I was about to say pre-Last Jedi.
No, even Force Awakens. I feel like a lot of people were hating on that movie too. Like, and Rogue One, even though a lot of people I know love it, and I freaking love Rogue One, a lot of people hated that movie.
What, really?
Yeah.
I think Rogue One's the best of the new ones.
Rogue One is the best out of not the original trilogy.
I mean, that's where I'm at.
Oh, yeah.
I love Rogue One.
Also fair to say.
But
the adding in the 3 prequels is adding in 3 at the bottom of the barrel. So like,
sorry, I did not mean to take us down this rabbit hole. Course correct.
But even with that in mind,
stats.
there was still some. I've still seen so much negativity about Rogue One online, and so this is the most positivity I've seen about Star Wars. We'll see if it lasts. Because that was just after chapter 1. So we'll see how long that good faith lasts. Because the internet is looking out for the merest opportunity to shit on something. So we'll see. But for now, it was nice seeing people excited about Star Wars again.
Excellent. Nick, how about you?
Well, much like Ian, I had to stop and think about what have I been doing. Oh yeah, writing. That's what I've been doing. Like, that's literally it. And when I haven't been writing,
your guys' respective word counts on Discord.
Yeah, we're all actually pretty tight. Like, we're all pretty close to each other. Which is nice. Yeah. But and when I haven't been writing, I've been working on my Astral Tides role-playing game. Since I talked about both of those last time, I wanted to talk about something else this time. So this time, I put self-publishing. I'm going to take that off. But I'm actually going to be one of many guest hosts on a returning weekly podcast. If anyone is familiar with Gamers Table, they're a tabletop role-playing game podcast, and they have a number of side shows that they do as well. Also a number of very high-quality actual plays. Their most popular one and most successful one is called Resting Glitch Face, and it's a game of Shadowrun. Yeah, it's a game of Shadowrun with an entirely female cast. And it's really good. But anyway, they're doing they're putting on another weekly podcast called Big 20, where they get various tabletop role-playing game masters. They do 3 each show, and it's a rotating cast. They basically sent the schedule out and said, sign up for what you can and whatever. So I signed up for a little less than half of them. And my first one is going to be this coming Sunday, so day after tomorrow, at 9 p.m. at twitch.tv/gamerstable. And that it's also because it's Twitch, like I bought a webcam for this too, so you'll actually be able to see me and the other hosts, and we field questions from the audience.
Oh, God.
So if you want to join, yeah, right, I know. So if you want to join and listen and watch and then submit questions, that'd be great. But yeah, we're going to discuss, I think, on Sunday, the starting topic at least, is incorporating player character stories into your campaigns. And then there's some anecdotes and that sort of thing. And also, Scott's wife is another one of the rotating hosts on this show. But unfortunately, my schedule and her schedule do not align. Like, we're never on an episode together. So that kind of
literally
sucks.
opposite.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think she's alt. She's an alternate for a couple of your episodes.
Mm-hmm. And I am for hers, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so hopefully, well, not hopefully, but hopefully someone gets sick. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was really funny to find out.
Mm-hmm. I know it was still totally, it hadn't been announced very large. Well, it had on their Kickstarter, but I didn't think that, you followed Gamers Table at all, because it's never really come up. And then you just messaged me, you just messaged me, are you on a podcast that's coming out and it's releasing every other Sunday? And I was like, yeah? How did you know about this? Yeah, it was funny.
What's funny is, she's like, oh, Scott, she tells me all this stuff, and I'm like, cool, let me see, who the names are. Just because I listen to gaming podcasts, I might recognize them. And I see Nicholas Corey, and I'm like, sorry, what? Yeah.
Yep.
I was, and then I texted you immediately. So.
Yeah. So I'm going to be on that one this coming Sunday. I think I signed up for 3 Sundays on, 3 Sundays off, and then just rotated like that. And I do every other, because we role play on the Sundays that are opposite those. So yeah.
Nick can't say this, but I've seen a few of the topics. They're really interesting. Honestly, even as a player who doesn't GM, I think this is... And even just as, a gamer in general, some of the ideas they have is just fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited for the one coming up, because I have some good stories to share about incorporating PC stories into the campaign. Successful ones and unsuccessful ones, so... Casey.
I'm ready to listen just to see how many times our misadventures get mentioned.
Well, the first one that came to mind included you.
Go on.
Is the second one...
No, you gotta listen, man.
Oh, fine.
That's the teaser.
I will.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give it away.
Well, cool.
Got dangle that
really
carrot.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's is that every other week for you for the foreseeable future?
No, I'm doing next week, and then not the Sunday following, but the next one, so every other Sunday, and then I'm off for 3 or 4 episodes, and then I'm back on for every other Sunday for 3. So I spaced it out. I didn't want to do... Because when I first signed up, it was an every other thing, and then they met the Kickstarter stretch goal and turned it into a weekly thing, and I was like, I'm not signing up for any more. I got enough. So
gotcha.
I'll definitely make you guys aware when I'm on. So
cool. Excellent. Well, you know what? I was... Oh, wait, who did I miss?
Ian.
Me.
Or
Ian.
Scott.
Scott, no.
I'm going to pull a normal Nick and actually announce 5 different things I'm doing.
Yay.
I'm just kidding. Super quick, though. Part of my also NaNoWriMo thing was, in addition to the haikus, I want to get all the Korok seeds in Zelda Breath of the Wild. I need 141 more.
Ugh.
I'm so close. It's only a couple hours, literally 2 to 3 hours, and I'm done. I got Jedi Fallen Order, which I can't play until Monday, which hurts me on the inside. First Martians board game, absolutely amazing if you like playing Arkham on hard or expert. It's a cooperative game. It's brutal. It's about going to Mars and landing, you're a colony, and it is fantastic. But only if you like Apollo 13, the movie. I feel like you like First Martians. And then lastly, twitch.tv/wandering took, and toque as in not the Canadian headwear, but the Hobbit. Monday night.
This meme has just eaten itself.
I have to clarify. Wandering TOOK. Toque. I'm joining him for, I guess he has a group of players and they're playing through Arkham campaigns. And what they're doing is throughout the Arkham campaigns, they're getting people in on, like, they're doing side missions, and he's getting like people from whoever to do the side missions with them. So I believe I'm playing Carnival with Patrice with 3 open gates. So we'll see how that goes.
So, like, thanks for playing, Carnival. See you later.
Yeah.
Open gates.
He's
are
like,
pretty
what's
good.
there? Oh my god. In Patrice? Because you're going to see all of them? Yeah.
Every single one.
Unlike Iron Man.
Yeah, so I guess for my part, I was gonna talk about how I had like this really rare moment for just like diving into a game over the course of a weekend, which I don't think I've really been able to do since like college. And I played a bunch of Dark Souls 3 last weekend. It was really cool. But I'm not going to talk about that. Instead, I'm going to talk about the fact that I got my daughter and her friend to start a role-playing campaign in the Edge of the Empire, the FFG Star Wars universe. So I ran them through just the beginner booklet scenario just to see how they took to it. And they did pretty well. They were a little silly. I got to experience my daughter, who is a remarkably good and polite person. Like, it staggers me that I could have accidentally raised such a person who is just so conscientious and sweet and just everything good about personal skills. Just turn to me and go, Dad, I shoot the Gamorrean up the nostril.
I mean, what else do you do with a Gamorrean?
I mean, like, yeah, it made sense, but it was... yeah. So anyway, it was a very weird parenting moment for me, but also kind of glad to get, back into a little bit of RPGing. The commitment is low. Like, I'll prepare something and they'll play, and I don't GM very often. I've GM'd like one full campaign, Nick, since you've played with like literally every role-playing game I've ever played.
I was gonna say, I think this is the second time you played an RPG without me at the table.
That sounds about right. But anyway, it's kind of fun, and I have to remind myself that I really dig the FFG Star Wars engine. Literally, I only have Edge of the Empire. I didn't get any farther into it than that. That's just kind of the space
that's the best one.
I just feel like that's, of all the different spaces of the Star Wars universe, that's the one where I feel like there's the most fun to be had for role playing specifically.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to give your daughter credit, she aimed for a quick death, right? Like, it was, I need to kill this guy, but I need to do it mercifully. So I'm just going to shoot him right in the brain.
I mean, this was immediately after she gunned down her first one, so I think it was just like pure bloodlust, but, I can always be
okay,
hopeful.
well, that happens.
So anyway.
Bloodlust in a 10-year-old. Yep. Totally.
So I've been having a good time with that, and you know what, Nick, I'm really excited to listen to your episodes now, because I have a renewed appetite for such a thing, especially in the role of GM, which I really hop into.
Right. Awesome.
So yeah,
I think one thing about that, Sean, too, is that like the FFG system, which I'm kind of have a love-hate system or love-hate relationship with. Sorry,
me too.
I know, because the one proprietary dice, like, really? Okay. But the story dice, where you can like succeed amazingly but also have a downfall, or like fail terribly but also something good, or anywhere in between, it allows the players to, like, it inspires a lot of ad-lib, and maybe I'm just not a good enough GM to ad-lib enough, but Yeah, I don't know.
I agree
I'm
that is definitely where like my GM chops get pressed the most.
Yes.
Absolutely. But at the same time, I appreciate that about the system because when it works, it fucking is memorable.
It does.
So,
but the other 90% of the time,
yeah.
But they could do that same exact thing with regular numbered dice. You know what I mean? Without charging you $18 for a set of 5 or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, and it would be easier to read for most players, and easier to pick up on. That's my thing. It's like you don't like those literally do nothing other than like it's another peripheral that you can sell. So
I feel like I don't know if you guys have played the game Apocalypse World, where you roll your skills are like 0 to 3 ish. Oh no, -2 to maybe +3. Like +3 is amazingly good.
You mean Powered by the Apocalypse?
Apocalypse World? That's the one I'm playing.
Okay, that's the Powered by the Apocalypse system where there's a ton of settings that use that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. This is like a Fallout
right.
post-apocalyptic thing, and basically you roll 2d6.
Yep.
And 7 to 9 is a pass, but with a deficit, the GM decides from a list of deficits, and 10 plus is a success, 6 or less is a failure. So it's like 7 to 9 is where you don't want to end up because it's like you succeed, but something bad happens. But the Star Wars dice are just super like you succeed, but only a bit. But there's something good that happens, but also bad.
Quick, add up and subtract all these symbols quickly.
Yeah,
and
it's
like
not numbers.
Read
That's
it.
the thing. Like
yeah,
it's the iconography plus the math. I don't know.
But then again, there are some things about that system that I really really like. Yeah, like the starship combats are really cool, and the force icon stuff at the beginning of each session is really cool. And I love how their class design is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, overall I love the system. I love the upgrading path. I love that system. The dice is the weak point.
The biggest crime is that they didn't release an official conversion for regular dice until the last of their 3 big RPG arcs, the Force and Destiny book. And that should have been an edge. I'm sorry. I'll get off my soapbox. I'll put my soapbox away.
Sorry, Sean. Your technical time.
I just don't see how converting dice, like the level, how many dice you roll and the different dice at play. I just can't see that actually being a way anyone really plays the game.
I mean, probably not.
I would just prefer if it was a level of success. Like if you tie the
it kind of is though. Edge has that gradient success. It's just reading the dice and determining exactly where you fall on that gradient is where it.
But you can also have critical successes and critical failures.
Only with one of the dice types, which you're not always guaranteed to roll. It's just with the D12, which you don't always roll the D12.
I mean, once you get to once your players get 5 or 6 scenarios, games in, you're usually rolling those 50% of your tests.
Right. Well, okay. We're literally losing listeners as we're talking about this. So.
All right. Well, anyways.
And Ian,
great system. I would change things.
I personally like the dice system. I think there are ways that at the table you can adapt it to make it seem less clunky. Like, for instance, I always have, if one of them is doing the test, I have them roll their dice. I roll the countering dice, which, I think the rules technically says you roll them as one big pool.
Yeah, it's a pool. Yeah.
And then I just have each of us go, okay, I rolled 3 successes, 2 advantages, 3.2, and then the other person says 2.2, and you can get to the result way faster just by making, delegating just a slight little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, I understand that they cost more and whatnot. I personally love the dice system for that system. But anyway.
Sorry, I was going to quickly say on that point. No, sorry. I bought my wife a dice tower last Christmas, and it has 2 columns, and they spit out either side. So one person rolls the dark side, one person rolls the other side, and it's great.
The less dark side?
the light side, but also maybe the dark side, depending on what you're doing. But it's just funny because we go 1, 2, 3, and then you release your dice, and they go, and they come out. It's really fun.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I can dig that.
Yep.
I mean, half the fun of dice is the tactileness, right?
Oh, dice towers.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for all 6 of you who stayed through to the end of the episode here.
5.
We appreciate you. Oh, there are 5 live with us? Oh, shit. That's way better
Oh,
than
now
I
there's
expected.
6. Matt came back.
I wasn't actually counting. That was just a self-deprecating joke.
The Matt came back the very next day. Sorry.
Yeah, we were under 2 hours last episode. We had to make up for it this time.
Oh my god, did we ever? Ugh.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us to the end of this very long trench that got thinner and thinner by the end. This has been episode 71 of Mythos Busters. We'll see y'all next time.
We are, but we're getting some great cold opens.
Or like
Or some
warm,
good,
squishy
I was going to say
opens.
some good warm exits too.
All right. That's quite enough.
So my son farted at dinner today. And it's
Great segue.
As you do.
Great
it was long and it was low pitched. So it literally sounded like a boat coming in. It was like it was hilarious.
Really leading the cheek out on that one, huh?
Yeah. Oh boy, I can hear the Patreon dollars going away after this episode.
Does it
The
sound like
opposite
this?
of a cha-ching noise.
Sounds like a vacuum going off.
Ching
We have
chop?
to close down the merch store now.
Wow, thanks, Scott.
Oh my god.
Yeah, well, wow. God, I love me some Friday night recordings.
This is nuts. I'm not used to this.
Oh, I'm like, after 2 shifts, I'm lacking a lot of sleep, and I get the gigglies, and so that's where
That's
I'm
okay.
at. Right
So do you
now.
perpetually
Punchy's-
live
Punchy's
after
good.
2 shifts?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I don't know.
It's like the Mogwai thing. Like, from the right perspective, every time is after midnight.
Sure.
It sounded deeper in my head.
You would say Mogwai and not Gremlins. Took me a minute.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, wait, why would I say that?
I
Did I
don't know.
intentionally make things confusing?
Yes.
Yes.
You intentionally
I'll
go
own it. It's fine.
a layer deeper than the most accessible layer.
All right. do
Dave,
this.
Between Two Shits was actually my favorite Arcade Fire album.
I remember that one well.
Aren't we all just living between 2 shits?
I do. I like that.
Until that second shit doesn't come.
Oh man.
Every shit can be your
It's
last.
gotta eventually. Yeah.
I was about to. I was
So
trying to get
treasure
there.
everyone.
Oh my god.
Will
We
this-
need to start the
I
episode.
I live to shit until I don't.
We've had a fair few episodes recently where I'm like, I don't remember any episode title options from this one. That's why the last one was just called Excelsior Deep Dive.
And now we have like 14.
And now we have all, but they're all in the preamble.
That's fine.
We got to let ourselves get a little bit looser in the episodes nowadays. I think we're just a little bit too businessy. We're taking ourselves too seriously.
I don't think
you know?
we've ever taken ourselves too seriously. I don't think that has ever been a threat.
Yeah.
All right, let's actually start though. Probably.
Okay.
Ugh.